Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another live stream. Game week 6, the wildcard is, of course, active. In this stream, I'll be locking in the wildcard, of course, and I'll also be answering all of your key questions as well. The draft has not changed much. I've changed the bench order. I've had a little play around with some other players that I would quite like to squeeze in, but I just keep on arriving at the same wildcard, basically. As much as I would like to change certain players, I build that team and I'm like, oh, I'm just not feeling it. And again, I do sincerely think if I didn't have so many negative comments about being template and there weren't so many other people with a similar team, I definitely wouldn't change it. The only reason I'm feeling like changing is because so many people do have very similar teams, which in and of itself shouldn't be, I don't think, a reason to change. I'll discuss throughout, though. Are there only two? I think there are maybe three players that I really want in my team, and I can get them at the expense of some other stuff, and then it does give me a bit of a benching headache. But yeah, I'll discuss all of that throughout, but let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what you're doing right now. Why are people ignoring Salah? I don't think anyone in their right mind would ignore Salah. Salah is... Apologies. Salah is top 2 FPL assets in the game. I would say he's probably still second after Haaland, and he's the best FPL asset of all time. Again, I don't think anyone is ignoring Salah, but once you put Haaland in, and if you want Semenyo and Jai, a good defence, you need to have an okay-ish bench, at least a little bit of cover. Like, it just is very difficult to squeeze Salah in as well. So, yeah, I don't think... I mean, some people might be. I'm not ignoring Salah. It's just I can't afford to squeeze him in without sacrificing so much else. Kieran says, I've got a unique issue. That's fine, Kieran. That's why I'm here. Thoughts on in this wildcard with a bench boost 8. Got a transfer ban for it from 7 to 10. Okay, fair. So you can't make a transfer from 7 to 10. Donnarumma, Dubravka, Gabriel, Richard Senesi, Anderson, Rodon, Bruno and Jai, Reinders, Semenyo, Minte, Haaland, João Pedro, Gyökeres. Yeah, it looks good. The only concern I would have there is Minte. Like, if you've got a transfer ban, could you just pick someone like Caicedo in that spot? Like, Minte's great, but he's also the sort of player where he could be dropped, and he's also was suffering with an injury this week. By the way, I think Minte's fine. He's been training since Thursday, but that's the only position in your unique situation, Kieran, where I could say that's a possible issue that would crop up. Otherwise, the team looks great. By the way, I've just seen loads of people become Wrap Tier 1 members overnight. Thank you very much. Darren as well, becoming a Wrap Tier X member. I appreciate it, Darren. Thank you. Bass says, hi, legend. Hello, Bass. Thank you for the generous super chat, by the way. Pedro, Henderson, Munoz, Senesi, Virgil van Dijk, Porro, Eze, Gakpo, and Jai, Semenyo, Haaland, Ekitike, Mateta. 3 more free transfers. Okay. What do you think of Foden, João Pedro, and Richarlison? Love that. For Mateta, Ekitike, and Gakpo. Or Mbermo/Bruno. Thanks, legend. I love those transfers. Do I probably marginally prefer Bruno? Yeah, maybe, but extra million. So I really just like the Foden, João Pedro, Richarlison moves for you, mate. I'd be very, very willing to do that with your 3 free transfers. Izzy Gaming, thank you for being a member for 9 months. I appreciate you so much. Hi, Ross on Wildcard. Sharda and Saliba or Senesi and Mbermo? Sharda and Saliba or Senesi and Mbermo? 1,000,000% Senesi and Mbermo. 3,000,000,000% Senesi and Mbermo. It's just such a better combo for me. Timbo Sly says, hi, Egg. Thoughts on this free hit? Pickford, Gvardiol, Tarkovsky, Romero, Foden, Semenyo, Enzo, and Jai, Haaland, Isak, Pedro. Should I put in Richarlison for Pedro or Isak? If it was my team, yes, I would have Richarlison in. I probably would have him instead of Isak, but apparently throughout the week, João Pedro has been suffering with a knock and an ongoing issue, so maybe bet on João Pedro having reduced minutes. But yeah, on a free hit, Timber, I think my front 3 would be Haaland, Richarlison, and João Pedro. Jace says, been a member for 42 months. Thank you, Jace. Rodon or Estev? It doesn't matter. Which weeks do you need them? Basically, look at what week you need that 5th defender. I've gone Rodon because I've just been more impressed by the Leeds defence. And in the weeks where I need a defender, it could be Burnley or Leeds. Foden or Gyökeres? Straight shootout, I prefer Foden to Gyökeres at the moment, but it's not because it also then changes. You need a cheap forward or a cheap midfielder. So I think at the moment I prefer the Gyökeres combo, but I prefer Foden. Romero or Gay or Tarkovsky? Tarkovsky, Romero, Gay in that order. Would your team be any different if you had bench boosted already? Yes. I don't think I'd have stack. The reason I like stack is basically, let me bring up the site. In the 3 weeks that I might bench boost, because I've not actually confirmed when I want to bench boost. I could even bench boost in 7, by the way, but I think it's unlikely. Is 8, 9, and 11. I think 8 is the least, maybe not actually, because it's the nearest. My team doesn't look great in 8, but he's got Burnley in 8, West Ham in 9, and Forest in 11. So the 3 weeks that I would need stack on the bench boost, he's got great fixtures. So I think if I didn't have stack, I'd be tempted by Dewsbury Hall. Just a note, by the way, if you missed the content this week and you've not yet seen, Dewsbury Hall is on 4 yellow cards. So 1 more yellow card for KDH and he will be suspended. Donnarumma or Raya, both fantastic. I just back the Arsenal defence for this run of fixtures here. This run of fixtures, West Ham, Fulham, Palace, Burnley, Sunderland, I think are great for the defenders. I even think beyond that, they're not awful. Like Spurs, Chelsea, Brentford, Villa, Wolves, Everton, Brighton, Villa again, Bournemouth. Like I'm just so happy having double defence for all of these fixtures. The thing I will say about Arsenal defence is they will go through runs where they concede 2 or 3 goals in, 2 or 3 games in a row they concede. We saw it last year. Who was it against? They conceded in back-to-back games where it was like easy fixtures where it was almost a guaranteed clean sheet and they conceded back-to-back. It will happen. So I would only pick double Arsenal defence if you're playing the long game. If you're playing the long game, I still expect that pairing to do very well. If you're playing more of a short game, then again, you could potentially look to differentiate, chuck in a Gvardiol or a Donnarumma. I still do think that the Newcastle defence are underrated. I think Dan Burn, Nick Pope, they're absolutely good inclusions as well. Izzy Gaming says, my little Pokemon, hello. Start one of Gakpo, Munoz, or Sarr. Or take a hit and take out Gakpo for Bruno or Foden. Don't know if I'd take a hit for that. I think I would start Gakpo, though. Cody Gakpo would be my player to start. We don't know yet with Isak in the starting 11 on a consistent basis. Might even make the likes of Wirtz and Gakpo better picks. If it was for free, I would do Gakpo to Boden or Fruno. If it was for free, I would do Gakpo to Bruno or Foden. I wouldn't do it for a hit, though. Hopefully that helps. Much love, my little Dorgu. Let's not get started on the Dorgu stuff. Jason says, hey, Russ, I hope you've had a good week. I've had a good week, thank you, my friend. Who would you bench between Milenkovic and Sarr? That's a tough one. I would start... I think Forest will concede this week, to be fair. I would start Ismaila Sarr. Although I don't think Palace will have that much. That's a tough one. I think Ismaila Sarr. Maybe. Ismaila Sarr. Probably just about. Ross has been a member for 7 months. Thank you, my fellow Ross. Jordan Speller says, hi, Ross. I'm on Wildcard and I want a Brighton midfielder. Who would you recommend? I think I still would go Minte, but like I said, he's not been in training for a lot of this week, and I don't think his minutes are perfect. Like, Matoma's minutes will be better than Minte's, but I think he has the higher upside. I suppose you could still look at Ruta as well. I don't know why you'd want a Brighton midfielder necessarily, though, when they've not got perfect minutes and their fixtures aren't that great. But if you are going to, I'd still probably go for Minte. APAC Lolrus says, hi Ross, my wildcard team is the same as yours, but I've got Van Dijk instead of Tarkovsky and Caicedo. Okay. And Caicedo instead of Stack, sorry. So you've just got a better team than me, is what you're saying. My team value's in the bin, APAC. Like, if I could do that, I probably would. No bench boost left. Should I switch to a cheaper options and keep money in the bank for any future options? I was going to say no, but I mean, money in the bank's never an issue. Do I think that Van Dijk and Caicedo are better than Tarkovsky and Stack? Yes. Maybe just go for it. Like, flex the team value. Make sure that you're making the most of having a team with pretty high team value. Yeah, I'd maybe go for it. On the flip side, there is a chance that you want to do Gyökeres to Isak in the future. And if you went for Tarkovsky and Stack, you'd save 1.1 million. You've already got 0.3. In fact, APAC, if you went Tarkovsky and Stack instead of Van Dijk and Caicedo, you'd have almost the exact money in the bank to do Gyökeres to Isak. I think you'd need 0.1 million more. But maybe that's enough of a reason for you to just keep the money. Basically, I don't think you should keep the money unless you've got sort of a future plan that you think you can use it on. Or if you think the combinations are pretty close, then maybe keep the money. Abdul Rahman says, good morning, Ross. Good morning, Abdul. Great content as usual. Keep it up, brother. Thank you very much. Are you triple captain Haaland today? As a Leeds fan, I think Goodmanson at left back is very attacking and a better choice than Rodon. Best wishes. So Goodmanson, very close for me, actually. I had a look at this. So Defcon so far, there's not actually been that much between them. Let's look at Leeds. So Defcon per 90 for Rodon has been 9.4. So he's almost averaging the 10, and he's hit it on 2 occasions, hit 9 on 1 occasion as well. But Goodmanson's not been awful for Defcon either. So let me move across. Averaging 7.18, so about 2 lower on average. But he's had twice where he's been very close, and he did hit it last week. My issue with going for an attacking defender right now is the attacking returns are just less common. Like, I don't think we're going to see it too often. Like, Goodmanson is yet to get an attacking return. And actually, if you look at his data, 0.003 and 0.007. So eye test-wise, I agree. When I watch Leeds, I'm like, oh, Goodmanson has a good chance of returning here. But the data doesn't back that up, and Defcon-wise, Rodon's definitely stronger. So I just keep coming back to Rodon instead. But I appreciate the advice, and I'll think about it. On the other question, triple captain, I'm obviously on my wildcard this week, so I can't triple captain. But if I wasn't wildcarding, for those that are asking, I would triple captain Haaland without a shadow of a doubt. It would be the choice for me. Omri says, how and why did you get to the handle Raptor? So Raptor basically, so I created my Twitter account in and around lockdown. And obviously during lockdown, there was no football. So I watched quite a lot of NBA, and I also watched The Last Dance, and I was big into basketball. In fact, I don't really watch much NBA at all now, but I watched a lot of basketball at the time, and I love the Toronto Raptors. So I had FPL Raptor Raptors was in the mind, and that's where FPL Raptor come from. But yeah, I know it's a bit random. I think most people's names are random. If you've not heard the story from FPL Focal, my good friend Oscar, his first name on Twitter, when he first created his first Twitter account, Oscar's FPL username was FPL Bin, and he had a logo of a bin. It's a true story. There are all sorts. There's like FPL Asparagus. There are some random names. Like, there are so many that's taken now that you've got to be a bit creative with it. But yeah, thank you for the super chat. Dave says, do you like Enzo Fernandez on free hit? Yes. Absolutely. I think he's good on free hit and wildcard. And as a transfer, I think Enzo Fernandez is a very underrated pick. Jake says, my wildcard team is Pope, Romero, Gabriel, Senesi, Bruno, and Jaya Reinders, Semenyo, Kudus, Haaland, João Pedro. My bench, apologies, is Gyökeres, Richards, Alderete, and Dubravka. Great team. So why have you... Okay, so you've basically got my team, but you've got Romero instead of Tark. I like Pope in there as well. Yeah, you've got Kudus instead of Stack. That's a great team. The only thing I will say is you're going to have some benching headaches moving forward. That's a very strong, deep squad, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It looks really good, Jake. I like that wildcard a lot. Martin says, Haaland and triple captain, wildcard game week 7. Salah out for a punt this week. Who? Are you selling Salah to buy a Haaland? If so, fine. If you're selling Salah just for the sake of selling Salah, I wouldn't. If you're going for a punt this week, it has to be Phil Foden or Doku for me, probably. I would go Foden. But the thing is, would this be Foden's 4th game in a row starting? There are some concerns. I honestly think Brian Mbeumo's not a bad punt if you have the funds. So I would say Mbeumo, Foden, or Doku if you're looking for a 1-week punt. JM says, good morning, bud. Same wildcard team as you, but instead of Tarko, Stack, and Rodon, I've Guardiola, Caicedo, Richards. That's great. It's honestly just a better team than mine because you have better team value. If you have the team value to build a better team, I would use it. But as we spoke about before, you could just sort of keep the money. Would you potentially downgrade Richards to upgrade Gvardiol to Virgil van Dijk? No. I think Richards and Gvardiol was a nice pairing. What's the hype about Tarkowski? These are his points so far. 4, 8, 3, 8, 3. He's starting on 3 to 4 points as a baseline. And obviously when he gets it clean, because he gets Defcon, he can do better. And also, he does have a goal in him. We've not really seen that this season. Like, barely any goal threat. But he's still a big guy that can get on the end of a set. He's like 15, 10, 11, 11, 14. It's not like he's scraping Defcon every week. The man's bold. Like, he's absolutely smashing past it. So I just think that Tark will be a good pick. I don't think I'll have him as a season keeper. He's not got the best injury record, and he does need clean sheets. Defcon's not enough. We've seen that with Anderson so far. Like, Anderson's points have been good, but if not for this 10-pointer, which was obviously lovely for owners, 2-4-3-4. So you do need those sort of 8s, 6s, 10s chucked in there. But as long as Tarkowski can pick up a few clean sheets, I think he'll be great. Hopefully that makes sense, Jay. Boris says, good morning, Ross. I'm considering the recent news around João Pedro. I had Reinders benched, but should I consider benching João Pedro instead? I will be honest, Boris, I cannot imagine a team where you need to bench Reinders or João Pedro. There must be someone else to bench. In fact, 100% don't bench Reinders, but I would not bench João Pedro. You've got to have another attacker in your team that you could bench instead. So I'm going to give you a terrible answer because it's not an answer to your question. Don't bench either of those. Samil Vora says, Cole to Njai or Foden LT? I don't know what LT means. Late transfer? Don't know. Raya Senesi, Gabriel, Van der Ven, Semenyo, Xavi, Gakpo, Wood, Haaland, João Pedro. Bench of Dewsbury Hall Road on Richards. Game week 7, Wood to Gyökeres. I think Foden's a fine punt, basically. I think Njai is a better long-term pick. It depends when you plan on wildcarding, if you've already wildcarded, and also what your own expectation of Foden's minutes are. If you're looking for a long-term pick that you don't have to remove, Njai. If you're looking for a short-term punt and you're happy to make another transfer soon, I would go full Foden. Hopefully that makes sense. Nicholas says, good morning, Ross, or Nicola. What do you think of my wildcard team? Pope, Dubravka. I like the Pope pick. Senesi, Tarkowski, Van der Ven, Calafiori. Calafiori's got a high upside. I just worry about Calafiori and Timber's minutes every game. Rodon, Semenyo, Caicedo, Njai, Reinders, Eze, Haaland, Isak, João Pedro. I love it. You've got some really unique picks in there, like Calafiori, Eze, Isak. Not many people have these kind of players. Pope, I think, is great. It's a really nice wildcard. This is what I mean. People keep saying be different. I wouldn't be different for the sake of it, but that kind of feels like you've not been different for the sake of it. You've just built a really good team that happens to be slightly different. Douche McDouchehead. What a lovely name. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Says, good morning, Ross. I sold Salah and Guiu for Njai and Haaland. Great transfers. Got all of my chips. 1 million overall rank. Bench Konsa and Kudus. Triple captain. I mean, immediately I'm like, potential bench boost if you've got Konsa and Kudus on there. Anyway. Sanchez, Dubravka, Porro, Van der Ven, Milenkovic, Konsa, Njai, Reinders, Semenyo, Bruno, Kudus, João Pedro, Haaland, Wood, Vamos the Egg. Can't bench Kudus there. Who do you bench, though? I guess maybe Chris Wood. That is a real... I would be very tempted to bench boost. I'd be very tempted to bench boost. Even though Dubravka's got such a bad fixture, could make some saves. I suppose Sanchez is a slight doubt about starting, but I think he will start. Jorgensen's not exactly covered himself in glory. Milenkovic, apparently it was cramped. I suppose you've got a couple of doubts there, but that benching headache in the attack is awful. I suppose if you are to bench someone, I would potentially be looking at probably Chris Wood. I wouldn't want to bench Mohamed Kudus at all. Hopefully that helps. I don't think it does, but team's looking great. If you don't bench boost, yes, I would triple captain. Andre says, would you go burn over Anderson if you had the money? Yeah, potentially I would. I mean, I'm 0.1 short of that. Depends, though. Like, in my team here, I don't really need to play Anderson all that often. And if you're in a similar position, then it maybe is a bit of a waste. But if you're playing burn on quite a consistent basis, then yeah, I quite like it. Would you do Rodgers to Mbermo for a hit? Rodgers is a player I'd be tempted to sell for a hit, because I don't even know that Rodgers starts this. And I know we went through this last season and Emery just played Rodgers every game. But we said last season that Rodgers might not start every game due to fitness. Right now, he's just not playing very well, so I would be tempted. By the way, guys, I completely forgot to ask. If you're watching right now and you're enjoying the stream, can you please drop a like? This is what happens when you don't ask for likes. I've got like less than 150 people have liked the stream. So please do consider liking if you're one of the people that are watching right now. I appreciate you. Has Defcon made the game worse? It's not made it worse, but I do wonder if they need a rethink on exactly the thresholds and how expensive certain players are. Because what it's done right now is, as you say, fullbacks are almost redundant, but also, as things stand, there are only 5 or 6 defenders cheap. In fact, less than that. I'd say like 3 cheap defenders at 4.5 that are actually hitting it consistently, like Senesi, Anderson, Richards. After that, you're either picking defenders that don't get Defcon very often or attacking fullbacks. And so a lot of people are just going to go Senesi, Anderson as their cheap defenders. You then look at Tarkowski hitting it every week. even the 4 million defenders, there are certain ones like Rodon, Mukiele, Esteve that will hit it more often than a Goodmanson or other attacking formats. So yeah, I do think that as it stands, it's actually reduced the player pool. I think what they wanted to do with Defcon is increase the player pool, like give us more players to choose from. But because there are certain players that are just hitting Defcon every single week almost, it has reduced it. So maybe there's two things you could do. But then actually that doesn't help. I was going to say you could increase the threshold, but if you made it 12 for defenders, Senesi gets even better then, because even fewer players can manage it. You could reduce the threshold, but then it's just like everyone's picking up points. Or you just increase the price of centre-backs and reduce the price of fullbacks. So like even like Rodon and Esteve, make them 5 million. And make all fullbacks 4.5 million. And then people have a choice. Do you pay the extra 0.5 million for the Defcon, or do you pick a fullback that doesn't get the Defcon but might get the attacking threat? I'd love to know what you think in the comments if you're watching this back, and also in the live stream chat. What do you think of Defcon? I do think that it is partly the reason why a lot of wildcards are converging, because there are certain defenders that you want, and then it sort of builds from there. Burn is a Defcon monster and more secure for clean sheets at 5 million. Why not him instead of Tark? Is it minutes? So there's a couple of things. Firstly, Defcon monster is... We throw this term around. I think Burn is good for Defcon, but not a Defcon monster, probably. I mean, I'll look at it now. Also, Europe. Europe does worry me, because Dan Burn's played 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. Does he continue playing 90 every game? I'm not as sure. So he's averaging 9 DC per 90. He's hit it on 3 occasions. Obviously only got 1 against Leeds and then 6 against Wolves. You just won't see players like Senesi and Tark getting 1 Defcon in a game. Like if we look at Tarkovsky's again, he's hit it not only every week, but he's also averaging 12.2. So I think Burn will get more clean sheets than Tarkovsky, but I think Tarkovsky will get more Defcon than Burn. And also, assuming that they are both fit and available, I think that Tarkovsky will get more minutes. So yeah, I think Dan Burn's great? Yeah. Is he potentially worth the 0.5 saving? Yeah, I really do like Tarkovsky for now. I could always downgrade in the future though, of course. Eric, thank you for becoming a Rap Tier 2 member. I appreciate it. Zaryab says, use my bench boost. Thoughts on João Pedro to Guiu and spreading the funds? Not for the sake of it. Like, unless you've got a specific transfer lined up, no, I wouldn't. I think João Pedro is great. Saka and Evanilson or Gyökeres and Bruno? Well, I've got Gyökeres and Bruno, so I would lean that way. The main reason, I still think Gyökeres is on pens. So if you did Saka and Evanilson rather than Gyökeres and Bruno, I think, could be wrong on Saka, I think you're losing 2 penalty takers there as well. And also, apologies, I think minutes-wise, the Gyökeres and Bruno combo still probably right now is slightly stronger. Maybe in the future it won't be, if Gyökeres' minutes come down even further. But Bruno's 90, 90, 90, 90. Even Ilson and Saka can get early subs. Gyökeres also is probably an early sub risk. I am very behind on Super Chats. I had a bit of a long ramble there, didn't I? Right, where are we? GGP says Gabriel, Van de Ven, Bruno Kudus, Gyökeres. Okay. Versus Calafiori, Richards, Saka, Stack, Isak. I would say comfortably the first option for me, but it's also a very safe option. But I just think Gabriel, Bruno, Kudus, Gyökeres, these are very nailed-on players with good minutes, good threat. Like Calafiori, Saka, Isak, these are all a bit more risky. So it depends kind of how you want to play the game, I suppose. For safety, and I think the slightly better combo, 1. If you want to take it a bit more risky, GGP, I would go for 2. Sockmas says Foden, Richarlison, Evanilson, or João Pedro, Gyökeres, Stack. Foden, Richarlison, Evanilson, João Pedro, Gyökeres, Stack. Oh, that's close. That's close for sure. I still prefer the João Pedro, Gyökeres, Stack. Obviously, that's what I've got. But I actually quite like your Foden, Richarlison, Evanilson combo, you know? I don't mind that at all. Field Munoz or Lacroix? Munoz. Couple of headaches on free hit. Pickford or Vicario? On free hit. Oh, I quite like the Pickford shout. Romero or Milenkovic? I would go Pickford and Romero. So you've got a bit of Spurs, but I like Pickford. Isak or Richarlison, I'd go Richarlison. And if I do move Enzo to Bruno with the excess money. Yeah, so I would go Bruno, Richarlison, Romero, Pickford, Dave, if it was my free hit. But obviously trust your gut feeling with it. Would you go Saka over Njai if you could? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If I could put Saka in Njai's spot, I would do that in a heartbeat. I'd put Saka in over Semenyo. I'd put Saka in over Reinders or Stack. apart from Bruno, who I think is a really nice pick, I would much rather have Saka than any of those. Boris says, oh, sorry. Okay, I got your new super chat, Boris. Regarding Pedro versus Reinders, my other midfield options are Kudus, Semenyo, Salah, Ndiaye, Haaland, Richarlison. Oh, that's okay. Okay. Now that I've seen your entire team, Boris, that's awful. That is an awful benching headache. It might be João Pedro. I can't believe I would ever recommend that anyone benches João Pedro, but I look at that team and it probably is Reinders or João Pedro, yeah. Maybe Reinders. Might have slightly reduced minutes against Burnley, but he's been so good. João Pedro. In the anticipation that he might have reduced minutes, given that apparently he struggled with a small issue this week. So yeah, maybe João Pedro. Khan says, I'm on Wildcard. Okay, so you give me 3 options. Okay. Juve, Ndiaye, Gyökeres to Rodon, Bruno, and João Pedro. Yeah, probably prefer that. Or 3, Porro, Juve, Anderson, Gyökeres to Rodon, Anderson, Bruno, João Pedro. I do like the Bruno, João Pedro, Anderson combo. That's a tough one. I think 3. 1, 3, 2 in that order, Khan. But I would need to look at it for longer than I'm able to right now. But I think, yeah, 3, 1, 2 is probably my favoured combinations. Luke, hello Ross. Hello Luke, good to see you. Already did my 2 free transfers. Salah to Ndiaye, Watkins to Haaland, fantastic. I have 3.6 million in the bank. I can do Giu to João Pedro for a -4. Think I'm on wildcard 8, not set though. Thanks as always and good luck on your PhD. Thank you very much, Luke. I would only do Giu to João Pedro for a -4 if you are having to start someone else in, obviously because Giu's in the bench, if you're starting someone else that you think is rubbish. Like if you're having to start like Esteve against Man City, then yes. But if you've got a decent alternative to play instead this week, I wouldn't take the -4. Mr. Thor Peterson says, first Family Feud update from our new house. Congratulations on the move, my friend. 51-51 and a green arrow for both of us. I tell you what, Thor. Maybe the new house is a good luck charm for your missus. Or potentially it's going to be the great leveler between the two of you. I hope you're well, though, my friend. Drop me a message at some point on X. But yeah, congrats to both of you on the green arrow. Wildcard can't choose Ndiaye and Caicedo or Xavi and Dewsbury Hall. I will choose for you then, Jamie. Ndiaye and Caicedo, I prefer. Hi, mate. Bench Gakpo or Watkins? I'd bench Watkins and start Gakpo. Watkins has been horror. Villa have been horror. Might not even start. If he does start, he might not get 90. I'd go Gakpo. Mohit Kumar says, same wildcard as you with Foden, Burn, Richards instead of Gabriel, Stack, Rodon. Yeah, love it. Wait. Foden, Burn, Richards instead of Gabriel, Stack, Rodon. Yeah, you must still have much better team value than me then. That's a great combo. I prefer to have yours. I prefer to have yours. Review Maker says, triple captain Haaland, game week 6, rolling this week. 3 free transfers for game week 7. Okay, I like it. Vicario, Van der Ven, Richards, Williams, Kudus, Semenyo, Salah, Grealish, Haaland, Pedro, Wood. What to do? Yeah, I think, like you say, roll this week. And then I think Chris Wood, trying to get Chris Wood to Gyökeres would be really nice ahead of game week 7. And maybe your way to do that is downgrading. Depends how much money you need to. I don't know how much you have in the bank, but maybe downgrading. That's going to be tough, actually, isn't it? That is going to be tough. Assess it next week, but I think Wood to Gyökeres would be the ideal move. Grealish is probably the one down to like a Dewsbury Hall or something like that. Is probably your best way to free up the funds. Or you potentially look at looing one of Salah or Haaland. But that's a very nice team. To have Salah and Haaland and to also have options like Semenyo, João Pedro, Kudus is a very nice looking team. You also probably do want to get an Arsenal defender in there at some point as well. Ross Fraser says, hi, bud. Hello, Ross. On a season without Mo and Erling. Okay. I respect the challenge. I do think that, like, as much as it's probably been painful thus far, I do think throughout the season there will be spells where you can do quite well. Bench boost soon, and you're on wildcard 6. Raya, Dubravka, Tark, Porro, Gabriel, Senesi, Kukureya, Semenyo, Njai, Reinders, Bruno, Brian Mbermo, Isak, Pedro, Evan Nilsson. Changes on wildcard this week. Bench of Reinders, Gabriel, and Cucurella. I don't love... Okay, what would I change? I don't love the Pedro Porro pick. I think instead of Pedro Porro, I would rather go for probably Gvardiol or Van Dijk. I think are both better than Pedro Porro for me. And if you don't have the funds, then I would... You say you've got 0 in the bank, so you could even drop down to like a Lacroix. I'm not fit. Or Romero. I even think Romero's a better pick than Porro if you want to go Spurs defence. Where else? I would have Saka. So you're telling me you can't have Haaland or Salah? I would absolutely have to have Saka in there. So where would I get Saka? I guess it would be instead of one of Bruno or Mbermo. And to fund that, maybe Evan Nilsson down. I'm not that convinced by Evan Nilsson. Okay, Porro to Romero. I would be tempted by Evan Nilsson to Richarlison. And I would also be tempted to squeeze Saka in. But other than that, it is a really strong team. I would not bench Tijani Reinders, though. I hate that. In your setup, though, I'd even bench like Evan Nilsson ahead of Tijani Reinders. But otherwise, it looks very strong. Ryan Brooks says, hi, Ross. Wildcard of Raya, Byrne, Tarkovsky, Gabriel, Grealish, Semenyo, Xavi, Doku, Gyökeres, Haaland, Richarlison, Dubravka, Senesi, Caicedo, Rodon on the bench. 2.4 in the bank, bench boost soon. Really nice. The Xavi, Simmons and Doku picks are really nice. I like the Richarlison pick as well. You've basically got a pretty wildcard team, pretty template team, but with like 2 or 3 really nice alternatives. Even Dan Burn in there is, like I say, a good shout. So I really like that team, Ryan. Yeah, and I like the fact that you've left money in the bank as well. That could be really useful. Abdul Gadir says, hi, Ross. Hello, Abdul. Salah, Watkins, Rodgers to Haaland, Bruno and Foden. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep, I would triple captain Haaland as well. Wildcard Game Week 8 advice, please. Wait until Game Week 8. It's post-international break. There's no point right now going for a Wildcard 8. But in terms of your 3 transfers, Abdul Gadir, I think they're fantastic. And I like your team. I do worry quite a lot that this might be the week where Wirtz does something, like playing with Isak. He had his little rest in the Premier League. Wouldn't be surprised if Wirtz turns it on here. And I would be very sad as someone that had him for the first 5 weeks. Right. Sorry, I know a few people saying I've missed their super chat. I'm just really behind. Sorry. I'm trying to bounce between normal chat, super chats, answering questions, entertaining as well. Although I don't do a great job of that. If you are enjoying the stream, by the way, and you're not yet subscribed, we're less than 300 subscribers away from 170,000. I would love to hit that by the end of this week. So if you're not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. I really would appreciate it. Let me get back to answering your questions rather than yapping about that. Hi, Ross. My front 8 is Foden, Reinders, Haaland, Bruno, Semenyo, Kudus, Wood, João Pedro. Who do I bench? Chris Wood, probably, because he's got the biggest chance of not starting. Other than Foden, but you've obviously got to start Foden. Yeah, I'd probably say Chris Wood. I don't love that, by the way, and Chris Wood could do very well. But given the Sunderland have looked okay, and like I say, he might not start or might not get more than sort of 60, 65, I'd probably go that way. Aaron says, hi, Ross, bench Porro or Cucurella, with Porro playing 90 in midweek as he a rotation risk. I still think Porro will start, but given I think Cucurella is fantastic, maybe just start Cucurella because you don't have as much risk. I think the Porro chance of being benched is being slightly blown out of proportion. Start Lacroix or Munoz? Munoz. Raya Dubravka, Porro, Tarkovsky, Juve, Trufer, Nico Williams, Salah, Anderson, Kudus, Reinders, Semenyo, Haaland, triple cap, Mateta, and Guiu. Thoughts, big love. It's a great team. Is this... I'm assuming not a wild card, given you've got like Juve and Guiu in there. Yeah, and obviously you're on triple captain. Of course it's not. The rest of the team, though, looks fairly good for a wild card, I suppose. Like having Semenyo, Reinders, Kudus, Anderson's nice. Haaland and Salah as well, I've just realised too. It's a nice team, mate. It's a really nice team. Defence looks pretty good this week too. Porro, Tark, Trufer, Nico Williams. So I assume you're playing a 4... Is that a 4-5-1? It's probably a 4-5-1, isn't it? It's a really nice team. Yeah, super jealous of that. Ollie Phillips says, hi Ross, is Agbadu a little underrated considering his Defcon numbers and his fixture run? Wolves are the worst defence in the league other than Burnley so far this season. And apparently Agbadu has been their worst defender. I saw a few Wolves fans say they wouldn't be surprised if he's benched at some point. I don't think that'll be the case, but I just think there are other defenders that have good Defcon but also play in better defenses, basically, Ollie. I think he's a fine pick, though. Tao Tao says 0.7 in the bank with a template wildcard. Would you pick Caicedo over Stack, VVD over Tarkowski, or hold the money for future moves? I don't think Van Dijk over Tarkowski's huge upgrade. I do like Caicedo over Stack. If I had 0.7 million, I probably would pick Caicedo over Stack here. I would do it. Dylan Hurley said, okay, Dylan, I've got your team. Bench boost 8 or 9. Debating Van Dijk and Foden or Saka and Gvardiol. Ooh. I quite like Saka and Gvardiol for the long term. Short term, Van Dijk Foden's nice. Getting Foden in's great, but Saka and Gvardiol feels really nice. Yeah, I'd go for the Saka and Gvardiol, and I really like that team. Yeah, that's one of those teams where I look at and I'm like, oh, I do like that. I mean, you've gone for the Foster instead of Gyökeres, which allows Saka, but I think it's strong. FPL Victoria's Secret. Give me your wildcard team. Thoughts, please help. I love it, mate. I mean, it's not too far off me. You've got Van de Ven in there, which is a little bit different. You've got Eva Nilsson, which is a bit different. But I'm not going to criticize that wildcard at all. I'd give it the big thumbs up. Raymer84 is on wildcard. Says, Gyökeres is on my bench versus Senesi. Is Gyökeres more likely to score than Bournemouth get a clean sheet? I'd say no. What do you think? Would I start Senesi ahead of Gyökeres? I think that's quite close. I would be tempted, you know. I would. I just don't see... The thing is, do I see Arsenal scoring? Probably, but not more than one. But I suppose if Gyökeres gets that one, could be on for a 9-pointer. Senesi to get a 9-pointer needs Defcon bonus and a clean sheet. I think Gyökeres probably is the slightly better player to start, but there's not much in it. If you fancy Senesi, I would just go Senesi. I don't think that's a mistake at all. Bench 1 of Kudus, Gibbs White, João Pedro, Watkins, and Jaya Reinders Foden. Ooh, okay. Watkins, based on what we've seen so far. I'd go Watkins. Is 1.5 million in the bank a lot? No, keep it. As you say, actually. Keeping enough money to go from Gyökeres to Isak sounds great. Mbeumo, Grealish, Foden, or Doku as free hit in order? Foden, Mbeumo, Grealish, Doku. Doku, Grealish. I would say Mbeumo or Foden. If you want safety, he'll definitely start Brian Mbeumo. And I think if you want spice and a punt, I would go Foden. Aditya says, front three of Watkins, João Pedro would. I have the funds for Watkins/Pedro to Haaland in one move. Which do you think? Planning wildcard 8. I would much rather sell Watkins than João Pedro. Yeah, for sure. Gyökeres, Reinders, or Foden? Foster. Sorry, Gyökeres, Foden, or Foden, Foster, and 1.5 million. I still think Gyökeres and Reinders is the stronger pair for me. It's a little bit more template, but it's just stronger. Kieran has been a member for 19 months. Thank you, Kieran. Dan says, hi, Ross. Same wildcard except Tark to Van de Ven, Njai to Dewsbury Hall, Stack to Foden, and Gyökeres to Richarlison. I like all of those. I can absolutely understand that combination instead, so I'm not going to criticise that. Mill in the bank for João Pedro to Gyökeres game week 7, and Richarlison to João Pedro game week 9. Or money in the bank, okay. Hate booking transfers on wildcard, but got ground to make up, and I like the Richarlison punt. Booking transfers only doesn't work, Dan, if the punt doesn't work. If Richarlison goes and gets 3 goals in the next 2 weeks, and João Pedro... I guess you've got João Pedro for the good. No, do you know what? I just like it. I think that will work. Again, I don't like booking in transfers, but they are short-term plays that could be massive upside. You just need João Pedro to do decent this week, and you need Richarlison to do well across the next few. AFA 1506. A sell Palmer or Wood for a -4, or play Dewsbury Hall /Wood. Sell Palmer or Wood for a -4. I would just play Dewsbury Hall /Wood. Yeah, I think so. Niall says, hi Ross, on wildcard. Okay, I've got your team. Who to bench? Dubravka, Goodmanson, Mukiele. I think pretty easy. Defense. Attack. Caicedo, DCL. You've got DCL there. I would bench Calvert-Lewin there. Still probably bench Calvert-Lewin. Zaryab says, on wildcard, use my bench boost, not 100%. João Pedro with no Palmer and news this morning. João Pedro, King, Anderson, Raya versus Guiu, Njai, Timber, and Pope. Easier to get Saka with no Raya. I might prefer the latter option, because I think Njai is great, Pope's great, Timber gives you cover. I think that's basically a 50-50, mate. So if you prefer the second option, I actually quite like it because I don't think King. I really don't rate the King pick on Wildcard. I would try and find the extra money to get Dewsbury Hall or stack. Scuba Steve says, hey Raptor, Semenyo and Jai, Reinders, Bruno, Caicedo. Struggling to find any upgrades, so would love to hear your thoughts. Have a smashing game week. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. So you've got 0.9 in the bank, and that's your midfield. I think Caicedo to Ismail Assar, if you're looking to try, I think that is an upgrade. In fact, you can get to 6.5. Is everyone at 6.5? No, I don't think so. I think Caicedo to Ismail Assar would be the only player there. But then, are you just increasing the amount of benching headaches you have every week? I think that midfield, Scuba Steve, it's mine, but you have Caicedo instead of Stack. So it's mine, but better. So I really like it. Maybe just keep the money in the bank. But if you wanted to spend it, because you felt like you wanted to upgrade, I think Sar is better. Overset Tim. Okay, I've got your wild card. Any issues? No. Just make sure you're not bench boosting in game week 8 when Everton play Man City, because Jack Grealish cannot play against Man City that week. But other than that, I mean, Isak is a risk, but he's not an issue. Timber is a risk, but he's not an issue. I suppose Timber and Isak are the only two there that I sort of stand out as being just their minutes won't be perfect, is what I would say. Averall Gupta says, hi Ross, I hope United win today. Me too. Not often you see Man United in the early kickoff, so that'll be interesting. Wildcard draft. Okay, I've got it. What are your thoughts on this draft? Great. So, I love this team. Yeah, it's really nice. Really nice. You've even got my boy Dorgu in there. Defense is a little bit different, but not necessarily bad. Like Petrovic, Burn, Udogi, Dorgu, Calafiori, it's different. I love that forward line. That 8 attackers. Having Mbermo and Foden, I'm so tempted to try and get both of them in. I would have to drop Bruno Fernandes down. We know how much I love Bruno Fernandes. But I think Mbermo, my big prediction is Mbermo will be one of the top scoring players across the next 4 weeks, and I'm going to regret not putting him in. I think Mbermo's fantastic. So yeah, I really like that team, Avril. Khan says, apologies. Thoughts? Oh, sorry. Thanks, Ross. Never thought that game week 6 and wildcard would be such a headache. I was also thinking OP3, as I can pivot to Saka later. All the best for the season. Big love. I hope you have a fantastic game week ahead. And yeah, I appreciate all of your support on the streams as well. Timbo says, I'm very torn between Enzo and Njai on free hit. On free hit, I think it is Njai. Just the fixture, as you say. But Enzo's the more differential play. Maybe try and get both of them in. Maybe look at someone else that you can drop. I would still go Njai, personally. You could even go for Grealish if you wanted to. Wildcard game week 8. I have 2 free transfers. Would you do Salah, Watkins to Haaland, Foden? -4 Verts to Semenyo and Bermo, or only Verts to Foden cap? I would do Salah and Watkins to Haaland and Foden. I wouldn't do the -4 though. Yeah, just 2 free transfers. Salah, Watkins, Haaland, Foden. You can still even captain Foden, by the way. But I just think this is the way. I think that first set. Joe Murphy, Wildcard, Donnarumma, Dubravka, Senesi, Gabriel, Tark, Romero, Goodmanson, Mbermo, Njai, Reinders, Semenyo, Anthony, Haaland, João Pedro, Richarlison. 1 free transfer, Richarlison to Gyökeres in 7. What are your thoughts? Fantastic wildcard, fantastic plan. I really like the Anthony pick at 5.5 million. I feel like Anthony is probably going slightly under the radar, Joe. It's a really nice team. I love a short-term punt on Richarlison as well. It might even be, if Richarlison goes crazy in game week 6, you might even keep Richarlison for game week 7. I think they've got Leeds, haven't they, Spurs? So I like him. Ashley's been a member for 10 months. Thank you very much, Ashley. I appreciate it. Emir Burhan says, okay, I've got your team. Milenkovic to Senesi for a -4. Doku instead of Njai. I would keep Njai, and I would not sell Milenkovic to Senesi for a hit. I think your team's fine. I think just leave it as it is, Amir. MN Chuckster says, hi, Ross. Please rate my wildcard. Thanks and have a great weekend. Big love. Okay. I'm looking at your team now. Also, would you start in Bermo or Caicedo this week? I'd absolutely start in Bermo for sure. It's a great team. Again, very jealous of Bermo and Caicedo. I think they're both good picks. Really nice, strong defense. That's a 10 out of 10 wildcard, Mr. MN Chuckster. Yeah, really nice. Super nice. Some really nice little differentials in there as well. Have a great weekend as well, my friend. Kieran says, hey, Russ, I'm on wildcard this week, needing to bench one of Gabriel or Burn. Okay. I still would bench Burn, I think. Also, not sure who to start between Gyökeres and Dewsbury Hall. That's so close again. I'd probably start the pen taker. So I would start Gyökeres and probably Gabriel and just hope that it's like a 2-0 win to Arsenal. If you do want to spread the risk a bit, I have no issue with you starting Dan Burn though, Kieran. Thomas says, good morning, Ross. Just came to announce I'm 5.2 million rank in ahead of you. Fair play. So you're 600k. It's a great start to the season. No, but in all seriousness, thank you for the content. Lots of love. I saw someone say they were like 20k. Someone was like, I'm ranked 20k in the world, but I sit there and listen to someone ranked 5.8 million every week. It's one of those things. I do think that being a content creator, there is a difference between what you do with your team and your advice. Because I think my advice throughout the season has been pretty good. I've told people to buy the right players. I've just not done it myself. And also, there's more to content than just information, right? There's a level of entertainment there as well. And hopefully, even when my rank's not good, there's at least some entertainment. Njai and Semenyo or Saka and Dewsbury Hall? Njai and Semenyo for me. I think there's just such a strong pairing. Raya and Lacroix versus Pope and Tarko. PhD grind. Yeah, big love on the PhD grind. I would say that's actually close. That's very close. Assuming you've got Gabriel, Raya and Lacroix. If you don't have Gabriel, sorry, the opposite. Assuming you've got Gabriel, quite like Pope and Tarko. If you don't have Gabriel, maybe go Raya and Lacroix so you've got some Arsenal defence. Jay says, hey, bud, when is the best time to bench boost? And if it's game week 7 or game week 8, who are the best players to get on a wildcard? I can afford 2 4.5 defenders and 1 5.6 million. I think the best time to bench boost is 8 or 9 or even 7, but I would honestly not worry too much about the fixtures. I would just pick Defcon guys because I am happy bench boosting Anderson in any fixture. I'm happy bench boosting Senesi, Tarkovsky in pretty much any fixture because they start on 3 or 4 points. With regards to midfielders, this is why I like Stack, though, because if you want to bench boost in 7, I don't mind Spurs at home. In 8, it's Burnley. In 9, it's West Ham. Like this entire run here where you might want to bench boost, you can happily bench Stack in any of those or include Stack on the bench boost. So, yeah, I think 7, 8, 9, 11 are the 4 weeks I'm looking at. But for me, it's probably 9 or 11. Good morning, Ross. I hope you're well. I only have one thing to say. Damsgaard. This is the guy. What a legend. I don't know if you saw my tweet about you, but yeah, I posted as soon as I saw Damsgaard score, I was so happy for you. I was like, yes, he finally got his Damsgaard return. Big love. The Scan Legend says, wildcard, bench boosted already. Okay, Dubravka, Donnarumma, Gabriel, Anderson, Van Dijk, Rodon, Senesi, Saka, Mbeumo, Reinders, Dewsbury Hall, Kudus, Gyökeres, Pedro, Haaland. 0.3 in the bank. Okay, it's Van de Ven, not Van Dijk. Okay, makes sense. I was thinking that is a very good team then. So you've already used your bench boost. Makes sense then going a little bit cheaper on the bench. Although you've not necessarily got a cheap bench by any means. Yeah, I like that team. Is there anything I don't like? Love the Kudus pick. I'm quite jealous. I mean, I've wildcarded Kudus out, which feels tough. Like in my actual team before I wildcarded, I had Kudus. I like it, mate. No concerns for me, the Scan Legend. It's a really nice team. Ross, why isn't Dorgu on your wildcard? Piss off, Paul. No, joking. Dorgu's gonna get like a 20 points one of these days, and my notifications are gonna break. Nimrod says, don't you want a piece of the Spurs attack? A little bit, yeah. I just said I want Kudus. I'd quite like Xavi, but I don't want to do that instead of Semenyo, Fernandez, or Njai. And the only way to do it instead of Stack is to then make another downgrade. So, yeah, I really do think that Xavi, Simmons, and Kudus are good picks, but I just think this midfield setup I like a little bit more. Luke says, on wildcard this week, Gyökeres, Ryan, a 4.9 mid, or Pope, Eze, Richarlison. I would find 0.1 million and go Gyökeres, Raya, and Stack, or Dewsbury Hall. But if it's Gyökeres, Raya, and basically King, or Pope, Eze, Richarlison, oh, that's so tough. I still think Gyökeres, Raya, and a 4.9 mid, but I try and find that extra 0.1 million. Also, did you ever watch Hacksaw Ridge? No, I don't. Haven't. Don't know. Don't even know what that is. I feel like I've heard of it, but no, I haven't. Bench boost, Sanchez. I think, did you say to watch that in a previous stream, actually, Luke? I'm trying to remember now. I've lost it. There's no memory. We'll discuss it after the stream, though. Jordan Bolton says, bench boost of Sanchez, Nico, Dorgu, Van de Ven, Gakpo, Kudus, Rogers, Dewsbury Hall, Cunha, Haaland, Wood, bench of Richarlison, Gvardiol, O'Reilly. Use 3 free transfers on bench players. Would you -4 to change Dubravka wildcard 7? So I don't want to ruin your fun, Jordan, but I think if you're using 3 free transfers for a bench boost and you're going to wildcard next week, it basically means that your bench boost will score 0. Because like if you value a transfer at 4, I would almost be tempted to wildcard and not bench boost. Because if you wildcarded now, you'd wipe out. I just think using three free transfers on a bench boost, it's like the bench boost is probably only going to score you 12 to 15 players. And I know you've said your bench is Richarlison, Gvardiol, O'Reilly. That's probably not your bench. Like, you would never actually bench Gvardiol or Richarlison. So your bench instead is like Dorgu, Gakpo, O'Reilly or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would be tempted to wildcard. Anyway, I would not take a -4 hit. You've already used 3 free transfers for the bench boost. I would not take a hit for sure. Hopefully that makes sense, Jordan. But yeah, in the future, I would not use lots of transfers to play a bench boost. Mark says, bench 1 of Tajani, Evan Nilsson, Dewsbury Hall, Watkins, big love. Big love to you as well. I would probably bench out of those options Watkins. Hey Raptor, would you start Moniz or Rogers? Cheers. Ooh, that's close. I would start Moniz, I think. Moniz. Lester says, hi Ross, 3-5-2, Reinders, Gakpo, Kuda, Salah, Haaland, transferring out Watkins and Rogers to Evan Nilsson / Richarlison and Foden / Mbeumo, which is the best. I would say Richarlison and Mbeumo. Yeah, I quite like Richarlison and Mbeumo as a pairing. If you want to go full spice, Richarlison and Foden is very spicy. Minte, so I can go from Gyökeres to Isak in one move. Yeah, I don't mind that, Armen. I will just note again, apparently Minte hadn't trained all week until Thursday, because of a little issue, injury. I don't know if that will prevent him from starting. I've seen a few Brighton fans predict that this week Minte might not start, but in the long term, his minutes have looked pretty good. What upgrades would you make with your wildcard if you had 1.3 million in the bank? I would probably do stack up. Would I do stack up? Stack up to Kudus, and I would fund that by doing Raya to Pope. If I could do Pope and Raya and stack to Pope and Kudus, that's probably a stronger combination overall. Gyökeres and Van de Ven or Gabriel and Mateta already got Raya. Probably Gyökeres and Van de Ven. Pad Kelly says, on wildcard, Foden, Semenyo, Reinders, Bruno, Dewsbury Hall, Gyökeres, Haaland, Pedro. Yeah, it's a great looking attack. There's a horrible benching headache each week. You're probably benching Dewsbury Hall or Gyökeres this week, I suppose. Ross, what do you think of Harvey Elliott? I just don't think he starts every game, sadly. Don't think he starts every game. Brandon says, who would you choose between Xavi and Kudus? Budget not an issue. I'd maybe take a punt on Xavi. Discover with Sims says, remember, activating your wildcard chip means you get your transfers and points back. Exactly. Exactly. Wow, we've almost had an hour already. Just over an hour left until the deadline. I forgot what the word for deadline was then. Lake of the Space Dog says, hey Ross, on wildcard, Pope, Dubravka, Gabriel, Anderson, Senesi, Rodon, Estev, Caicedo, Salah, Reinders, Semenyo, and Jaya Haaland, JP, and Isidore. Beautiful team. Love that Salah and Haaland draft. As far as Salah and Haaland drafts go, it's really good. Obviously, Rodon, Estev, Isidore is a pretty weak bench, I would say, overall, especially 2 4 millions, but not awful. I quite like it. I'll give it the thumbs up. Liam says, Raya, Senesi, Tarkovsky, Porro, Fernand. Okay, I've got you. What do you think? Have a good day. I'm assuming you've already used the bench boost. If you have, it's not terrible, but King Rodon Mukiele as a bench is... I do think you'll come unstuck soon. Like, there will be a time when you wish you had a stronger bench. Maybe Evan Nilsson down to Richarlison, if that gives you the funds to upgrade one of your 4 million defenders. Or if you can do Evan Nilsson to Richarlison and and King up to stack or something like that, maybe. Basically, I think your team's great, Liam, but I think your bench is a bit weak. Averil was giving me their team and said thoughts on this draft. Yeah, it's nice. I still think the defense is a bit suspect. Like, Udogie's a bit of a rotation risk in the long term. Dorgu, I'm not feeling massively. Like, if you changed Udogie and Dorgu to Anderson and Richards, I think this team looks fantastic, Avril. Ty Truong says, Stack and Gvardiol versus Romero and Kudus. Bench of Gyökeres, João Pedro, Reinders. or bench one of Gyökeres, João Pedro runs. I'd probably bench Gyökeres out of those options. I would say, I think Romero and Kudus is probably the better combo there, my friend. Harshil says, wildcard Haaland. Okay, I've got your wildcard. Bench boost, game week 5 used. Any suggestions? I prefer Anderson to Van de Ven personally in the long term, but I guess you can make that move after a few weeks. No suggestions, Harshil. Yeah, I'm just looking at that. It's really nice. In terms of a Haaland and the Salah draft, that's one of the better ones that I've seen. And thank you for being a member for 7 months as well. I'm 0.3 million away from this team. Any advice? Raya to Pope or Tarkovsky to Lacroix or Gabriel to Gvardiol. One of those moves if you're 0.3 away from my team. And that's assuming you want to build a similar team. Alex says, my midfield is Njai, Anderson, Semenyo, Kudus, and Wirtz with 5.2 billion. You wish. 5.2 million in the bank. Replace Bruno with Semenyo last week. Get rid of Florian Wirtz for Saka or Bruno. If it's for free, I don't mind Wirtz to Bruno. I wouldn't do Wirtz to Saka this week. If you want to do that move, you do it next week. I don't mind Wirtz to Bruno, though, if you regret selling Bruno. War159 says, stack or Zubamendi as the sub and rotation? Stack. L. Harris says, Petrovic and Calafiori or Raya and Burn? Raya and Burn. Ryan says, hi Ross, hello. I sat in an airport in Greece waiting for a flight. I'm actually off to Zante in 9 days, which is fun. 8 days now. 8 days until I'm in Zante, which would be nice. Thanks for the entertainment. I hope you have a safe flight when you do. Quick question, João Pedro or Richarlison and Van Dijk versus Cucurella? Oh, I still prefer João Pedro, but I really like Richarlison, and I think I would just about edge towards Van Dijk rather than Cucurella. Thank you for the support, Ryan. I appreciate it. By the way, guys, a few people said I missed their super chats again. I'm just a little bit behind, but as long as you stick in the stream, it will still be answered. I do apologize, though, that I'm not getting to them a little bit quicker. And again, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, we're trying to hit 170,000 by the end of the week. Currently 230 away. So there is definitely 230 people watching right now that are not yet subscribed. Bench one of Senesi, Van Dijk. So, yeah, that is Van Dijk. I always... VVD and VDV, I always, in my brain, can't work out. Senesi, Van Dijk, Gabriel, or Caicedo. I think Caicedo. Jamie, Pope, Dubravka, Gabriel, Senesi. Okay, I've got your team. Thoughts on this wildcard? Really nice, Jamie. Love some of those picks, man. That midfield is spicy. Xavi Simons, Saka, Sarr, Foden, Isidore. I will say it's very different. Like, I don't know that you need to be that different. You might not be being different for the sake of it. It's a super team, though. Really strong. Doucheshed said, what are the bookies' odds for goals and clean sheets? Burnley parking the bus puts me off triple captain. Pick 3. Oh, Haaland has... City have almost 3 in terms of projected goals, and they have a 50% chance for clean sheet. Pick 3 of Milenkovic, Van de Ven, Porro, Konsa, benching Wood over Kudus, Gourd the egg. I'll have a quick look at that, I suppose. Oh, my mouse has died. Rob T FPL. Let's have a look at the bookies' odds according to Rob. There you go. I'll leave that on my screen for a second so that you can take a look at it. Sorry, pick 3 of Milenkovic, Van de Ven, Porro, Konsa. I would bench Konsa. Villa just stink at the moment. FPL the Max says, good morning, Ross. Thoughts on my wildcard draft? Okay, I've got it, my friend. It's brilliant. Yeah, basically for Isak rather than Gyökeres. And then a slightly different defense. It's just a better team than mine. I assume you've just got much better team value. Unless I'm missing a player that you don't have, but I don't think so. I think you've just got really, really solid team value there, basically. Start 2, bench 1. Gyökeres, Enzo, Evan-Ilson. I would probably bench Gyökeres and start Enzo and Evan-Ilson there. Do I start Munoz or Elanga? I would start Munoz. 3-5-2 with Foden or 3-4-3 with Pedro. Rest his template. I don't mind a 3-5-2 with Foden. It depends who your third forward is, though, and then if you need to bench boost or not. But in isolation, this week, I'd rather Foden. In the long term, I'd probably rather João Pedro. AKU says, hi, Ross. On wildcard, picked out of Tarko, Burn, and Chalobah. Tarko and Burn. Tarko and Burn, I think. I don't mind Chalobah as a pick, but I think he's probably slightly overperformed what I would expect. So yeah, Tarko and Burn are slightly more solid. Max is -8 to remove Palmer, Johnson, and João Pedro for Haaland. Probably not. No, I would just wildcard free hit or go without. Don't know that I'd be taking a -8, including selling João Pedro to get Haaland. Hi, Ross. Start Livramento or Joaquim Anderson? Anderson. Abada says, how do Raya and Donnarumma stack up against each other? Is Raya clearly a better choice? I think it's almost 50-50. I just think that Arsenal will keep more clean sheets than Man City. And I think saves-wise, I don't necessarily think either goalkeeper make too many saves. Like so far in his first 2 games, Donnarumma's made 2 saves and 2 saves. So I think they're very similar, basically. Simon Briggs says, should I bin off Watkins and Rodgers for João Pedro and Semenyo? I feel I'm just scared of their ownership and my plan was always to sell Villa after Burnley. If you're just scared of ownership, don't do it. If you want to sell Villa after Burnley, and let's say Villa beat Burnley 3 or 4-0, you could be in for a huge haul that week. So I think stick to the plan if the only reason that you'd be selling is for ownership, Simon. But listen, do I think João Pedro and Semenyo are better? Yeah, I do. So I also think it's fine to make the transfers. Jake says, my bench boost is gone, so Guiu dead spot if it enables Saka. Yeah, I don't mind that. Love the stream. Why not Donnarumma over Raya? We just spoke about this. I think it's very close. I just think Arsenal have more clean sheet potential. Harry is on wildcard. Give me your wildcard team. Really nice. Love the Lacroix pick. He's one of those that I was tempted by. Love the Foden pick as well. Yeah, I love the Richarlison pick. You've got some... Harry, your team is basically a more fun version of mine. I think it's a really, really strong wildcard. Hi, mate. Hope you're well. Meniz or Calvert-Lewin for a punt? I'd be so tempted by Calvert-Lewin, you know. I'd probably go Calvert-Lewin. Bina. Oh, I've lost that. Where am I? Bina says, oh, wise one. I've got the same wild card as you, but I just don't like Gyökeres, okay? Would you punt on Isak or go Saka and Kudus for Engine's stack? If you can get Isak rather than Gyökeres, I looked at this earlier. There's no real great way for me to do it. I'd be very tempted. I'd be very, very, very tempted. Yeah, I try. So if I do Tarkowski to Richards and then Gyökeres to Isak, I'm 0.1 million short because I was tempted to go Richards and Isak over Tarkowski and Gyökeres just to be a bit different. And also because, again, I myself am not convinced either by Gyökeres. Charlie says, if you could punt on one mid this week, any price, who? Mbeumo or Foden? Probably... 1 week punt, it would be Foden, but I think Mbeumo's great as well. Liam Jones says Foden and Pedro, Gakpo and Pedro, or Bruno and Evan Ilson. Foden and Pedro sounds great. I'd be tempted by Foden and Pedro. I'd say probably Foden and Pedro, then Bruno and Evan Ilson, then Gakpo and Pedro in order, Liam. Polkit says, hello, Ross. Hello, Polkit. Good to see you. Your wildcard team, 0.5 in the bank. Foden for anyone. No, I like that team. In all honesty, I would spend that 0.5 million and I would upgrade King. I don't like the King pick at all. I think King will be benched very, very, very soon. In fact, could even be this week. I don't see King starting every game. So yeah, I would use that 0.5 to upgrade King to Stack or Dewsbury Hall. Or Florentino, by the way, at Burnley. Looks like he could be a decent shout. Dilemma, play 2 of 3. Gabriel, Van der Ven, Senesi. I think you probably bench Van der Ven out of those 3. It's a difficult one, though, for sure. Do you think Wood starts? I do think he'll start, but I think he'll get subbed off 60-65. Or play Gakpo. Oh, that's close. I would still probably just about start Chris Wood, but I think that's a close one. Cucurella or Porro? I think Porro is the better pick as long as he starts, but because there are concerns over whether he does start, maybe just play Cucurella. Saka and Gyökeres versus Isak and Semenyo. Oh, wow. Saka and Gyökeres, Isak, Semenyo. Next week, I'd much rather have Saka and Gyökeres. I would go for Isak and Semenyo and bank the change. But I do think you're going to want to bring an Arsenal attacker in probably at some point. Warwick Scott says, on my wildcard, okay. What do I think? Like it. Alderete's a nice cheap defender option. Like Richards in there. Really solid midfield. Great attack. Bruno could become Foden. I would go Bruno still. I think that's a nice team, Warwick. I'm not going to lie. There's nothing for me to say there other than just enjoy your green arrow, hopefully, because it's not too dissimilar from mine. Good morning, Ross. Bench Evan Nilsson or Anderson? Ooh. Anderson is good against Sunderland, you know. I'd still probably start Evan Nilsson, but that's a very close one. I do like Anderson a lot. Actually, with Defcon as well. Maybe I'd start Anderson. Midfielder, Defcon potential. Maybe a slightly better fixture because it's at home. I like Anderson. Yaksho Tamang has been a member for 11 months. Thank you. Mad Dan says, hey, Ross, who would you replace Wirtz with for 0.5 million in the bank? In Burmo. Harshil says, thank you. Love the content, by the way. Thank you, Harshil. I appreciate that so much. Nimrod says, how bad is it to go without Bruno on wildcard and take a punt on Foden instead? That is not bad at all. That's absolutely fine. I also want Xavi, and with Bruno, I have no money left. Bruno is not essential. Bruno is not a top 5 pick on a wildcard. I like Bruno, and I think there are reasons to pick him. But it's a personal preference thing. Bruno's certainly not one of those players, apologies, that I'm like, you have to have Bruno on a wildcard. So yeah. In fact, I actually think Mbeumo and Foden are perfectly viable alternatives. Right, where was I? Nikola Gotic says, bench one of Wood, Watkins, Anderson, leaning Wood. Yeah, maybe Wood. I still think I'd be tempted to bench Ollie Watkins, but yeah, maybe Chris Wood if you're leaning that way as well. I think Anderson as a midfielder with a great fixture, maybe he's the one to definitely start. Dennis says, Caicedo or Minte will bench boost this, or will bench both this week. Still Caicedo for me. Caicedo and bank the little bit. I think it's like 0.3 million, isn't it? Henning says, on wildcard, my bench boost has been played. Okay. Really nice team. Love that midfield. Foden, Mbeumo, Bruno, and Semenyo is a lovely midfield. I know you've already played the bench boost, but I still don't like King. Because in the weeks where you want him, I'm just not convinced. Not good for Defcon. Doesn't really get attacking returns. Doesn't get great minutes. I would try and find a way to get King up, personally. But other than that, it's a really nice wildcard team heading. Bulldog says, who to bench? Van der Ven, Romero, Senesi, Anderson, Reinders. You need to bench one of those. I'd bench Van der Ven out of those. Bector says, hi Ross, my wildcard team is... Okay, I got your wildcard. I'm playing in a 4-5-1 most weeks. Okay, so your defence is strong enough to play a 5 at the back, to be fair. Great midfield. Njais, Reinders, Semenyo, Bruno, Saka, Haaland, Calvert-Lewin, Foster. Yeah, but those cheap forwards are good. I like that. In terms of a 4-5-1, I'm not saying I would play a 4-5-1, but it's a good 4-5-1. Bench Goodmanson or Dewsbury Hall? I would bench Goodmanson. I'd start Dewsbury Hall. Blicky94 says, hi Ross, thoughts on this draft? Lovely draft. Yeah. Pretty similar to mine. You've just got Kudus and Evan Nilsson rather than Stack and João Pedro. And I don't mind that combo at all. Tobias Johansson has given me that team. So should I do Munoz to Gvardiol for bench boost or just roll the transfer? Is that a good bench boost? Yeah, it's not bad actually, is it? Would be tempting. Yeah, do you know what? I'd probably do it. I mean, you could just, like you say, you could just bench boost Munoz, couldn't you? I would bench boost that. In fact, I would be tempted to maybe just keep Munoz and have him as part of the bench boost. But yeah, I would bench boost Tobias. I would. Lewis says, Foden for Rodgers, -4. Exact funds, Gabriel next week. Yeah, I'd be tempted. I would. Rodgers is one of the few players that I wouldn't mind selling for a hit. Reece James free hit punt. Not for me, but if you want to go for it, Dave, by all means. He's a quality player. You know what his delivery is fantastic. He has a great long shot on him. Romero, Van der Ven, or Udogi. No budget for Porro. I wouldn't pick Porro anyway. I think Romero is the best Spurs defender. Izzy Gaming says, my precious Orc. Start Anderson or Munoz. Anderson. Now my girlfriend's question. Triple captain Haaland. I told her yes, yes, and yes. I would add to your yes, yes, and yes with a yes. So you can tell her that I also approve it. Also, is FPL Harry your secret wife? No. Harry can get in the bin. Harry is the reason that so many other people have the same wildcard. No, I'm only kidding. I love Harry, but he's not my secret wife. My real life wife is in there. Bench Gakpo or Wood? Ooh, I would start Wood, bench Gakpo. Earthfan says, ideal triple Arsenal, what are your thoughts? Ideal triple Arsenal is probably Raya, Gabriel, and one of your Crez or Saka. So I think you've got it. I like your team. Xavi, Anthony, super spicy. Love the picks, though. I think they're really nice. Alderete, again, is a good cheap 4 million defender. Other than that, it's a very similar team to me. Yeah, really nice. I think I probably do still prefer Rodon to Goodmanson, but we're talking very fine margins here. And it's nice to keep a bit of money in the bank, Earthfan. I like it. Florian says, to sell Mbeumo and Richarlison or Eze and Isak. Wait, what? to sell in Burma and Richarlison, not Eze and Isak. I prefer I don't know what the to sell means, but I prefer it in Burma and Richarlison. Yash says, yo, Ross, start Mateta versus Liverpool or Paquetá versus Everton. The latter. I would start Paquetá versus Everton. It's just a slightly better fixture. It also gives you someone on Monday night football as well, because the Monday night game is Everton-West Ham. Good morning, my beautiful director of football club. We'll talk about club in a bit. DCL, question mark. I don't mind DCL as a cheap forward. I also like Isidore. I also think Foster's fine as well. On Wildcard 8, thoughts on Rodgers to Foden? On Wildcard 8, yeah, I'll do it. Hi, Ross. One to bench from Gyökeres, Kudus, and Njai. I'd have to bench Gyökeres there. I couldn't bench Kudus or Njai, Philippe. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. I would bench Gyökeres. Thoughts on Xavi Simons? Minutes to improve from now. I think Xavi Simons' minutes will continue to improve. I think he's a safe pick. I'm not saying that he will never be benched or that he won't get early subs, but I don't expect it to happen too often. I think he's just settling into the system and building up his fitness. Why not Donnarumma and Gabriel to balance the risk? You say balance the risk, but the flip side is if Gabriel keeps a clean sheet, I also get one from my defender. So what I'm basically doing with Raya and Gabriel, I only need one clean sheet to get 2. If I pick Donnarumma and Gabriel, I need 2. So statistically, as long as Arsenal have a good chance for a clean sheet, I actually prefer this option. I do get it though. If you do want to spread the risk and balance the risk a bit, you can. Like, the reason that I don't love this is if Saka goes nuclear, I have to sell one of my Arsenal to get Saka. So I am blocking my third Arsenal spot. That's the only thing that I'm a bit unsure on. Kevin says, any changes I should make? Okay, I'm looking at your team now. No, I love that. Sarr, Foden, Xhaka, 3 picks in midfield that I've not got, but I think are fantastic. The defense looks really strong, looks very good for Defcon. I'd give that the big thumbs up, Kevin. Can't think of anything really that I could criticise there. Xhaka's probably one of those players at around 5 mil that I just am underrating probably slightly. He's one of the better options. His Defcon potential is quite high. Ismail Assar, I think, is fantastic, and we know what I think about Phil Foden, so yeah. Sanwal, thank you for being a Raptor 2 member. I appreciate it. Heaven says, Semenyo, Njai, Kudus, Reinders, Isak, who to bench? Isak, probably. But you can't bench Isak. Semenyo, Njai, Kudus, Reinders, Isak, who to bench? Bloody hell. Who are the rest of your attackers? Isak. It's Isak, because Crystal Palace are good and he's got the lowest minutes out of all of those. Nick, I played bench boost last week. Okay, Gabriel, Van Dijk, Senesi, Rodon, Alderete, or Gabriel, Tark, Senesi, Anderson, Alderete. I think I prefer the Gabriel, Tark, Senesi, Anderson, Alderete. Even with no bench boost to play, I think that's a stronger price point setup moving forward. There might be weeks that you want to play a back 4, for example, and this one gives you that option, Nick. Dave says, good morning, Ross. Good morning, Dave. On wildcard, Donnarumma, Tarkowski, Gyökeres, or Pope, Richards, Isak. I think I prefer the Gyökeres combo. I already have Saka and Gabriel. Oh, okay. Okay. If you've already got Saka around, yeah, maybe the Pope, Richards, Isak move for you then, Dave. Maybe you don't want double Arsenal attack. Yeah, I don't mind the the Pope, Richards, Isak combo. Stevie Boy says, Game Week 7 versus Game Week 8 wildcard. I have no Arsenal, but my team is okay-ish. Let's see how Arsenal get on against Newcastle. If your team looks really strong other than Arsenal, fine. If your team looks a little weak and you've got no Arsenal, I think maybe playing in 7 makes sense. Edan says, happy Game Week 6, Ross. What about triple captain Haaland this week? I like it a lot. And happy Game Week 6 to you as well. Hayden says, I have Haaland not on wildcard. Would you triple captain? Yes, I would. Triple captain Haaland or bench boost of Dubravka, Porro, Gakpo, Walter Marde. I triple captain. That's not the greatest bench boost. Mark says, hi Ross on wildcard. Hello, Mark. I've got your team. Any changes? Great team. Really strong. Some really nice picks in there. I like Richarlison, like I say, I like Xavi Simons. I like the Romero pick. DCL was a really nice little cheap forward as well. I think he could do well. Bench boost 9. Same plan as me. So yeah, I like bench boost 9. And Foden cap this week. Listen, if you're feeling the Foden cap, spicy. Spicy. Should we run a captaincy poll, actually? I'll run a captaincy poll in a second. I'll run one for like triple captain, normal captain Haaland. And then also just other, I suppose. Salah, maybe. Van de Ven and Caicedo or Romero and Elliot Anderson. Oh, I quite like Romero and Anderson, you know, Justin. Rich says, good morning, Ross. I have a template team, but need to bench either Brooks or Gakpo. What do you reckon? What have Brooks' minutes been like? Gakpo. I don't like this. 66, 63, 66, 62. He might not even start every game. Yeah, I'd probably start Gakpo, bench Brooks, just based on those minutes there. Because with the Ekatike suspended, Gakpo's minutes will probably be really good in this game. Bench one of Semenyo, Reinders, Bruno, and Kudus. What a bench. Some people have the most disgusting benching headaches I've ever seen. I honestly don't know how to answer that question. Semenyo, Reinders, Bruno, and Kudus. Kudus? Probably Kudus, which is terrible. He's one of the best assets for this week, but I don't know what to suggest there. Maybe Bruno, but he's just penalties, Defcon, set pieces. I don't know. Probably Kudus if it was my team. I wouldn't put myself in a position to have that benching headache. LW says, please rate my team and any changes. Okay. I like it. Isidore, like I say, nice cheap forward option. I spoke about him this week. Saka and Xavi Simons in the midfield is very spicy. I'd give that like a 9.5 out of 10. There's not a single pick there that I can criticize. Not a single one. Really, really strong LW. And nice to see a slightly different team as well. Connor says, same team, but Bruno to Mbeumo, Tarkowski to Mitchell, Reinders to Phil. Oh, I like that. I mean, I do like Tijani Reinders. Could I do that to get Stack? Like, that's the sort of thing where if I could get Foden in here, I love it. And then but yeah, it just starts getting really tricky, doesn't it? Like, I don't think I can afford it even if I then make this move, can I? No, I'm still 0.8 off of that. Like, if I could do that, then I'd be tempted. But anyway, on your team, rather than talking about my team again, yeah, I don't mind it. I do wonder, is it worth making those two moves just to get Foden over Reinders? Is Reinders just a better pick than Foden in the long term? Probably. So I like it, Connor, but I don't think it's necessarily perfect. Sanwell says, I've got Petrovic, Chalobah, Van de Ven, Reinders. Okay, I've got your team. Nice team. Nice team. Like it a lot. Are you sure Haaland is 100% fit? No, because I'm not Pep Guardiola and I'm not Erling Haaland. But Haaland was seen in training pictures on Thursday, and Pep Guardiola said he's fit. That's all we've got to go off. If that is enough to put you off the triple captain, absolutely fair enough. I would still triple captain, though. Britton Woodruff says, thoughts on this free hit team? Darlow? Darlow's an interesting one. Romero, Van de Ven, Senesi, Reinders, Salah, Senesi. I assume that's Semenyo. Dewsbury Hall, Foden, Isak, Haaland. It's not bad. I think I would want Mbeumo in there if it was my team. I probably wouldn't have Salah. I wouldn't have Darlow, and I wouldn't have Van de Ven. So it's not a bad free hit, but I feel like you've basically sacrificed loads of your team to get Salah in. So unless you think Salah goes nuclear against Palace, I think that's the position to downgrade. And also Isak. Like, you've got loads of your budget tied up in two players against Crystal Palace. That doesn't look like a free hit team to me, I'll be honest, Britton. I would have Njai, I would have Bruno Fernandes, I would have Tarkowski instead of Van de Ven. Like, you're missing out on some really good fixtures. You've got no Gvardiol. I think there are certainly places where you could improve that team. Sorry to rain on your parade. Snow Bombs says, benching headache. In defence, I currently have Liv, Van de Ven, Nico Williams, Juve and Munoz. Is it worth it on -4 to bring in Senesi? Nah, I'd just leave it. I wouldn't take a hit for Senesi this week. Even if Senesi keeps a clean sheet and gets Defcon, you're basically only going to just about make the hit back. Mark Consiglio says, Gakpo, Wirtz and Rodgers to Mbeumo, Foden and Giant -4. I'd actually be quite tempted by that hit. I like those moves a lot, Mark. Mate, our attackers are Bruno Semenyo, Reinders, Njai, Foden, Haaland, Pedro, Guiu. Bench boost already played. Do you think Foden is okay for Mins? If not, who? Yeah, I think Foden's been fine for Mins. Do I think he starts every game? No. Do I think he starts enough, potentially? Is it worth the risk? Maybe. If you don't want to go for Foden, I think Mbermo is the best option in and around that price. Adam D says Vicario, Cash, Senesi, Van... Okay, I've got your team. This week, the problem is Wood. Should I play him or Dorgu or do a -4 for Richarlison? I would just play Chris Wood, I think, Adam. It's a good team. Good team. Bench is looking a little bit suspect, but I think you're okay. Dorgu's okay cover. Nice starting 11. Yeah, I would just play Chris Wood. Give Wood one more week, you know? I would hold Wood for one more week, and after that, you can release Wood. Hi, Ross. Thoughts on this wildcard? Pope, Dubravka, Gabriel, Gvardiol, Senesi, Tarkovsky, Goodmanson, Bruno, Stack, Semenyo, and Jaya Reinders, Jokeres, Haaland, Joao Pedro. It's basically my team. I think you've got one player different, two players different, three players different. Pope, Gvardiol, Goodmanson. But the attack's the exact same. It's a really strong team. Yeah, they're basically mine, so I'm very happy with it. Would you sell Eze for a -4 to a Spurs mid? No. No. Hi, Ross. Bench one of Wood, Watkins, and Reinders. Probably Chris Wood out of those. Maybe Ollie Watkins. Wood or Watkins? Probably Watkins, actually, for me. No, Wood's minutes will be lower. Probably Chris Wood. Start Richards or Juve? Ooh, I would start Juve. Hi, United says, hi, Ross. Hope you're well. My wildcard consists of... Okay, I've got it. I like the Pope pick. Midfield looks strong. Great team. I would say, again, fairly template, but not a bad thing. It's not bad to have a template wildcard team. Hi, Ross. My wildcard is active, and I have 5 free transfers. Bloody hell. It's a great wildcard again. You think Jokeres is overrated? I'm not necessarily sure. I disagree with that. Would I pick Calafiori over Gabriel? Is that a deal breaker? No. Listen, if Calafiori and Timber get the starts, Calafiori and Timber, for me, are better picks than Gabriel. I just think there are going to be weeks where they don't, and I would hate for that week... Like, could you imagine against West Ham them playing Lewis Skelly or Ben White or Burnley or Sunderland? Like, I just worry in the fixtures where you really want your Arsenal defenders, they might not start. Whereas Gabriel should start most games, I think. I could even be wrong on that, though. Like, there's no guarantee that he starts every game. Karen Matalia says, rate my wildcard team. Okay, I've got your wildcard team. I would give that I'm going to say an 8.5. Like, Salah and Haaland drafts do just look a little weak overall. Your defence, Van de Ven, Kanate, and having 2 4 defenders I don't love that. And also Strand Larsen in there. I personally prefer the Salah-less wildcard drafts, but that's just, again, a personal preference thing. Right, let's run this poll. Why are you benching Stack over Jokeres? I just think Jokeres is a better pick, basically. If Stack was on penalties... But by the way, I've seen a few people say, yeah, I think Stack will be on pens. He's not going to be on pens. He's taken 1 career penalty in 2016. Stack, that's it. Stack's not on pens. I want to make that very clear. It will be Calvert-Lewin or Strauch, probably. And if not them, then I still don't think Stack's getting close to taking a pen. Unless suddenly he's a penalty taker, which I don't think. Right, there's a captaincy poll for you to vote on. There is a captaincy poll for you to vote on. Where was I? Okay. Meshan85 says, please rate my wildcard. That's what I'm here for. I will give your wildcard a... Oh, I like some of those picks. 8.2. Picks I don't like. Kelleher, don't like that as a pick. Nico Williams, wouldn't have him on a wildcard. Juve, wouldn't have Juve on a wildcard. Those are the only 3. I much prefer Senesi and Anderson. Oh, you got Senesi. So Anderson or Richards instead of Williams. Williams, just the fixtures are running out. He doesn't get Defcon and he's not going to score a goal every week. And Juve is kind of the same thing of you need a lot of attacking returns from Juve to try and fight the Defcon guys. Because Juve won't get many goals, but it'll get lots of assists. But assists are only 3 points and Defcon's 2. I just don't see Juve keeping up with the Defcon guys. VJ says, hi, Russ. If you want a replacement for Dewsbury Hall next week, up to 5.4 million so that I can do a bench boost, who should I go for? Next week, a replacement. 5.4. There's not really anyone. Probably Stack if you want to replace Dewsbury Hall. I would just play Dewsbury Hall, though. There's no one really at that price that stands out that you want to replace with. Unless he gets obviously suspended, then go Stack, I think. Benching headache. Choose one between Senesi, Chalobah, Van der Ven and Anderson. Probably Chalobah. My mids. Bench one amongst Saka, Semenyo, and Jai, Kudus and Reinders. That is absolutely horror. Probably Kudus or... No, probably Saka. In all honesty, out of those 5 midfielders, it kind of probably is Saka. The toughest fixture and the lowest expected mins. Omar says, on Wildcard, Mbeumo Foden versus Bruno Stack. Too risky. I like Mbeumo and Foden ahead of Bruno and Stack. If I could do that, I absolutely would. But there's a big difference in price. You're talking like 2 million almost, aren't you? Difference in price there. But I much prefer Mbeumo and Foden to Bruno and Stack as a combo. Samuel has become a Rap Tier 1 member. Thank you very much, Samuel. Zaryab says, deep dive decisions. Gyökeres versus Saka. Raya versus Pope. Gyökeres versus Saka. Raya versus Pope. So Raya is better than Pope, but if you can find an extra bit to do that 0.5, I'll do that. Gyökeres versus Saka. If it's a direct shootout, I would prefer Saka to Gyökeres, but it's 0.8 more, and they're also different positions. Like, Gyökeres is a mid forward and Saka's a midfielder, so it's something more like Gyökeres and Stack, or Giyu and Saka, then the Gyökeres and Stack combo looks better overall. Hope that makes sense. Hall or Eva Nilsson start. I have Semenyo. Still Eva Nilsson. 100%. Hatik says, hi Russ, I have 3 free transfers. Did Verts to Kudus. My issues are Sanchez, Wood, Watkins, Ruta. Do I Sanchez to Raya this game week or next? I wouldn't do it this week. I think that's the least urgent transfer. Bench Ruta, play Reinders now, and bench Wood for Ruta versus Wolves next week, or just get Njai for Ruta. I think Njai for Ruta is the best move there. Hatik, I think. Thank you for the super chat as always, my friend. Pemdas says, I still have the bench boost. Caicedo to Stack for game week 9 bench boost. Potentially, but not now. I would do that in game week 9 if you want to. Caicedo is good for the next few weeks. Lima says, I'm on triple captain this week with this team. Great team. Almost looks like a wildcard team, in all fairness, mate. In fact, that literally does look like a wildcard team. And you've got Salah and Haaland. I don't understand how you can afford that. My brain is frazzled. How you've managed to get Salah and Haaland into a team with Bruno Fernandes and João Pedro and Semenyo. How on earth have you afforded... I feel like you're bluffing here, or you've mistyped a name, or you've got like 150 team value. Am I missing something there? That's a ridiculous midfield. Anyway, good luck. That was great. Start Anderson or Goodmanson this week. I would go Anderson. Bench one of Reinders, Kudus or Gyökeres. Reinders, Kudus or Gyökeres. Gyökeres, probably. Forgot to press the wildcard button. Minus 36. Is there a way I can sort it out? Yes. If you make 20 transfers, take loads of hits, and then hit the wildcard or free hit button, it will wipe out the transfers for that week. So if someone's taken a hit and they regret it, you can use the free hit or wildcard. Just make sure it says wildcard active up here, please. Because sometimes it doesn't fully confirm the wildcard straight away. Make sure it doesn't say pending. Make sure you've actually activated it. I've seen so many people that have not in the past, and then they're like, oh, I thought I'd activated it, but I've actually taken a minus 40 hit instead. Ross Baker says, okay, I've got your wildcard, Ross. Bench headaches. Thoughts on Gakpo? Not that much of a fan of the Gakpo pick. I also am not a huge fan of the Minte pick at the moment. Or Papa Sarr. Yeah, 3 of your midfielders I'm not keen on, honestly, if it was me. I prefer Enzo Fernandez. I prefer Kudus. I prefer Stack. I prefer Ismaila Sarr. There are quite a few midfielders I prefer. Njai, obviously. You've got Njai, so that's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I don't hate this team at all, by the way, mate. It's very strong. Just a couple of the midfield picks I'm a little bit less keen on, personally. Lauren White says, hello, Ross. Hello, Lauren. Doing triple captain for Haaland. Then I have Gyökeres, Semenyo, Fernandes, Njai, Anderson, and Foden. What do you think? Gyökeres, Semenyo, Fernandes, Njai, Anderson, Foden. Beautiful. Great sounding team. That's a great midfield. In fact, that's a sensational midfield. Semenyo Fernandez and Jai Anderson Foden's a ridiculous midfield 5. Good luck this week. Play Cunha or use the free transfer for Foden. I just play Cunha. Cunha will start. Cunha probably won't get perfect minutes, but he's such a baller, man. I love him. I'd probably just play Cunha. But I'm a biased Man United fan, so who knows. Timber and Gyökeres, Gabriel and Richarlison 2.1 in the bank. Ooh, I quite like the Gabriel Richarlison combo. Yeah, maybe Gabriel and Richarlison 2.1 in the bank as well. I do think Gabriel's just a better pick than Timber, personally. Khan says, long term, what would you do? Porro and Njai and Gyökeres and Stack? Or Van der Ven, Njai, João Pedro, Bruno? I have Foden also. I actually prefer the latter. I prefer the Van der Ven, Njai, João Pedro, Bruno combination. And I do really like Foden, by the way. I think Foden's great. Ryan says, defense bench headache. Back three of Porro, Van Dijk, Senesi, Anderson, Cucurella. Still sat in the airport overthinking. Okay, defense bench headache. Back three. Porro, Van Dijk, Senesi, Anderson, Cucurella. Wow. I can't remember what you said before, but I assume you can't bench boost because that's bench boost material. So Senesi you have to start. Wow. I would probably start Porro, Van Dijk, Senesi, and I would probably bench Anderson and Cucurella. The one thing I would say is that Porro is a slight doubt for a start, just because he did play really high minutes midweek. So if you had those doubts as well, you could start Cucurella. But for me, I would start Porro, Van Dijk, Senesi. Mad Dan87 says, just wanted to say thanks for all the advice. Thank you very much, Mad Dan. I appreciate that. Avril says, bro, one last thing. How about Petrovic and Burn to Raya and Rodon? I'm benching Calafiori, Burn, and Stack as of now. Petrovic and Burn to Raya and Rodon. Yeah, I probably do prefer that, actually, Avril. I probably do prefer that. Why Raya over Donnarumma? I just think Arsenal will keep more clean sheets than Man City is basically it. If you're one of the 5,000 people that are watching right now that aren't yet subscribed, please do. We are less than 200 subscribers away from 170,000. I didn't think it would be possible on this live stream, but I think it is possible now. There are definitely 200 people that aren't subscribed right now that are watching. So if you're not subscribed, or if you're sat there watching with your mum, your dad, your cat, log on to their YouTube account and subscribe there as well. Just ask anyone in the household to subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Morgan says, Raya, Senesi, Tarkovsky, Van der Ven, Bruno, Semenyo, Njai Reinders, Kudus, Haaland, Richarlison. Great team. Benching Gyökeres and Gabriel. I don't mind it. Like, really, we don't desperately want Arsenal assets for this week. We've not wildcarded for Arsenal this week. It's from 7. So if you've got a good enough team on your wildcard to bench them for this week, then go for it. I've just not really built my bench in a way where I can bench my Arsenal assets this week. Paul says, triple captain Haaland. Who should my vice captain go on? Out of those options there, probably still Salah. I don't mind Semenyo, though. I wouldn't vice-captain in the same game, because sometimes random stuff happens. What happens if midway through the game, and we've seen this in the past, the game has to be postponed, and you've got Haaland and Reinders in the same game? So I would always vice-captain someone in a different game. So for me, Semenyo or Salah would be the two. I'd probably go Salah still. Start Mateta or Anderson, and Dewsbury Hall or Paquetá. Anderson and Dewsbury Hall. In fact, if you can start Dewsbury Hall and Paquetá, I'd start the pair of them. But yeah, probably. And actually, Paquetá's on pens. I'd still go Dewsbury Hall and Anderson, I think. Aladdin said, okay, I've got your team, Aladdin. Would you use a free transfer in Dorgu to Senesi or Watkins to Richarlison or none? I'd probably leave it. I don't think you need to use a transfer in any of those. Yeah, I'd probably leave it, Aladdin. But if I was to make one of the moves, Watkins to Richarlison would be tempting to me. It would. But I don't think I'd make either of them. Which three to start? I would start Nico Williams, Van der Ven, and Munoz, Snowbombs. I basically have your team, but since bench boost is done, Stack is bench fodder. Gabriel had to go down to Timber, but this let me go and Njai to Foden. Spicy. That is very spicy. I don't blame you for making those moves. Really nice run. Tom says, hi, Ross. Thoughts on wildcard? Okay. So Petrovic and goal. I don't mind the Petrovic shout to free up some money. Really nice team. Wow. Yeah, do you know what? Really strong. And in fact, you've got a very deep squad there. Like maybe your bench is almost too strong. I look at that bench and it's very, very strong. But yes, a nice team. Todd says on wildcard. Lots of people with the wildcard active this week. Need to bench one. Caicedo. Caicedo is probably the one to bench there, Todd, I think. It's a really nice team. Yeah, love it, loving that. Lots of nice wildcards this week. Yeah, I would bench Caicedo there. Play Cunha or use the free transfer for Foden? I would just play Cunha, Richard. I think someone else asked that a minute ago. Yeah, I mean, do I think Cunha gets more than 65, 70? Probably not. Do I think Foden, if he starts, is better? Yes. But I think Cunha against Sunderland then in 7 is great. Liam says, already transferred Rodgers to Njai. I thought on my second free transfer to go Munoz to Gabriel or roll it for next week. I would just make that move next week, mate. I don't think that's necessarily an overly strong move to make this week. Yeah, do it next week, Liam. Venkat says, hi, Ross, rate my wildcard. I would give that, assuming you've already bench boosted, I would give it a 9.9 out of 10. If you've not already bench boosted, I would give it a 7 out of 10, because that is not a very good looking bench. But yes, it's nice, Venkat. Stian says, wildcard, okay, would you make any changes? Stian, your team's very similar to actually Venkat that just sent his in. As long as you've bench boosted already, it's a great team, really strong. If you've not, you've got Alderete, you've got Guiu. You're going to come unstuck, I think, a little bit in terms of that bench. But yeah, if you've bench boosted already, I like it. FPL Hazard says Saka and Donnarumma / Foden and Raya. I love Foden, man. I love Foden. Saka and Donnarumma is probably the better long-term play. I would go Foden and Raya for the Foden spice, though. Sweet Caliber says, Haaland triple captain, yes or no? Best arguments for both. The only argument not to captain him is if you think he's not fully fit, or you just prefer to do it in a slightly more differential week, because everyone's going to captain Haaland. So you're going to gain an extra lot of his points. But it's not like some people prefer to just go really differential with their triple captain. That's the only argument, really. Or maybe you prefer to triple captain a midfielder, but I would just do it. Semenyo, Foden, Grealish, and Eze, or Kudus or Njaya? Kudus and Njaya are better than Eze to me. I like Semenyo, Foden, Grealish. I think they're good picks. I prefer Kudus and Njaya to Eze personally, Joshua. Ishan says, hi Ross, do you prefer wildcard 7 or 8? In isolation, I prefer 8 because it's after an international break, and I just think we'll have a bit more information then. But in game week 7, Arsenal against West Ham is a fixture you want players for, so that would be my only concern. Chris Peppers has 2 free transfers. Salah and Watkins out to get Haaland. Salah and Watkins out to get Haaland. Yeah, I would do it. Nick Zero SP says, bench 1, Saliba, Gabriel, Kudus, Romero. Probably Saliba. KMHD says, hi Ross, love the videos, thank you. Thoughts on Petrovic, Van de Ven, Gay, Calafiori, Semenyo, Dewsbury Hall, Kudus, Salah, Haaland, Pedro, Gyökeres. Great team. No huge concerns. Just bear in mind, Dewsbury Hall is on 4 yellow cards. That is the only thing there. And also, Calafiori isn't nailed on to start every game when you've got someone like Lewis Skelly that can play there. Martin says, hello, rate my team and bench, okay? Great team, great bench. Yeah, strong bench and strong team overall. I'd give that team like a 9.8 out of 10, Martin. Great team. Is there anything I can criticize there? Not really. Yeah, really nice defense. You've got a super strong bench. In fact, if anything, your bench might be too strong at points. But no, I like it a lot. Doga says, hi, Rossman Wildcard. Which one is better? Raya, Stack, Fernandez, or Pope, Njai, and Burmo? Assuming that it doesn't cause a huge benching headache for you, because for me, Stack actually helps my benching headaches. I prefer Pope, Njai, and Burmo. But if Stack is going to cause if that's going to cause benching headaches, go for the Stack combo. But yeah, in isolation, Pope, Njai, and Burmo is the better combo for me. Mr. Dean says, hey, Ross. Hello, Mr. Dean. May 11th. May 11. Is this? I don't know where the May comes from. I assume this is your 11. Okay. Question. João Pedro, Ekatike, Dewsbury Hall to come in. Or should I -4 on triple captain to upgrade a player? 5.3 in the bank. I'm so confused what you're asking. Oh, Dewsbury Hall to come on. Okay, I understand. Or should I -4 and triple captain to upgrade a player? I'm so confused by your question, Mr. Dean. It's probably a me issue. I'm just very confused what you're asking here. Okay, do you need to make a transfer? No. So Ekatike is not great. So Dewsbury... Oh, okay. Dewsbury Hall is coming on for Ekatike. Do you need to -4? No. No transfer is required. And I would triple captain. Yes, I would triple captain Haaland. So don't make a move. Triple captain Haaland. Leave it as it is. Hopefully that's helped. Sorry for my My silliness. Creme Bannon says, did you see that? I had like a little nerve went then. I don't think that's a good sign. Is my brain okay? I don't know if that came across on the camera. I got a little... Did you say a free hit cancels my transfers? Yes. I've already done this round. Yes. I had 2 free transfers saved, used them, but now I regret them. Will a free hit cancel them? And will I have the 2 free transfers available next round? And a third free. So you don't get the third free. So I should make that clear. So yes, if you were to free hit now, the 2 transfers that you made in game week 6 would not count. However, you don't accumulate an extra free transfer this week. So if you had 2 free transfers going into game week 6 and you free hit, you would have 2 free transfers in game week 7. You don't gain the third one. But yes, I can confirm that that is the case. All right, where was I? West Ham have sacked Graham Potter. Sorry, I've missed that. I was not looking at the chat at that point. Sorry, Graham Potter has been sacked by West Ham. This is what happens when you look away from the chat for a little bit. West Ham. Bit of a weird time to do it, isn't it? I guess they're playing on Monday. I was thinking they're playing today. Maybe Tarkovsky and Njai won't have as much joy then. Oh, that's a shame. That's a real shame. Ahead of the Arsenal game as well. Do we know who's taking over? Old news now, Ross. What, it was about 5 minutes ago, wasn't it? It looks like. 20 minutes till the deadline, by the way. By the way, if you please stop sending super chats because I'm a little bit behind and I'm worried that I'm not going to answer them all before the deadline. So super chat at your own risk if you want to. I mean, you can still send them. I appreciate the love, but do it at your own risk because I don't know that I'll get around to all of them. Start Van de Ven and Kudus, bench Gyökeres, okay? Or just upgrade to Tarkovsky and stack, then start Tarkovsky and Gyökeres. All of the above is fine. I don't have an issue with benching Gyökeres this week, so maybe Van de Ven and Kudus works well. Yeah, I don't have an issue with benching Gyökeres. Laura Beat says Van de Ven, Tarkovsky, Senesi, Gabriel, Semenyo, Reinders. Okay, I've got your team. Triple captain, bench of Gyökeres, Mateta, Van Dijk. Any changes? That's a ridiculous bench. Are you not tempted to bench boost? I guess you might have already used your bench boost. Yeah, I like that team. No need to use a transfer. Triple captain looks good. Hi, Ross. Hope you're well. Thank you very much. I am well. Eze, Sharda, Wood, start 2. I'd probably bench Sharda. Heaven says, Njai, Kudus, Reinders, Pedro, Isak, who to bench? I think you've already asked me that, haven't you? And I said somehow Isak because I couldn't justify benching one of the other 4. Joab says, similar to you, but Foden for Bruno, Isak for JP, Richards for Tarkovsky, Van de Ven for Anderson. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that at all. I don't think I'd even have close to having the money for that, Joab, but overall, that's a nice set of moves. Hi, Ross, would you take a -4 for Rodgers to Foden? Yes, probably. Hi, Ross, hope you're well. Bench Chalobah or Gay? I would start Chalobah and bench Gay. Mickey Mike says, should I wildcard and take a -4 to bring in Haaland and triple cap and leave the team as it is? Please advise. I'd be tempted to wildcard just given you've got Sanchez, Watkins, Williams, Porro, Chris Wood. None of these are really players you'd want to carry forward. Do you need a wildcard this week, Mickey Mike? No, you absolutely don't. But would I take a -4 hit? Considering I also think you could change 8 or 9 of those players, I probably wouldn't. Big Toe says, hi Ross, Wood or Mateta out for Haaland? I would rather sell Chris Wood, probably, in the long term. If you're wildcarding soon, sell Mateta. If you're not wildcarding soon, or you've already wildcarded, I'd sell Chris Wood. Thinking about doing a wildcard 8, I would stick with Chris Wood and I'd sell Mateta. Yeah. Gyökeres and Caicedo or Richarlison and Foden? Honestly, as a standalone pairing, Richarlison and Foden, I think I prefer. Obviously, much riskier as a pairing. Richarlison and Van Dijk or Goodmanson, João Pedro on wildcard and bench boost game week 7. Richarlison, Van Dijk or Goodmanson, João Pedro. I think Goodmanson, João Pedro. Goodmanson, João Pedro. Gvardiol and Van de Ven and Stack or Romero, Richards and Caicedo. I quite like Romero, Richards and You've got just over 15 minutes till the deadline. Just over 15 minutes till the deadline. Yeah, Graham Potter has been sacked for people that have just joined. That's the only real news that we've had. Is this the final team, Rossi boy? Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be silly for me to start making loads of last-minute changes. On wildcard, thoughts overall into bench. So bench Dubravka, Burn, and maybe even Gabriel. Honestly, with that defense, Dubravka, Gabriel, Burn, bench, out of the attackers. So the issue I've got with your team is you've done what I was worried about, which is you've built a team where you have no good player to bench. Like this week, you're going to have to bench. You'll have to bench someone like Xavi Simons or João Pedro. I just think that 8 attack is too strong. Like you don't need 8 brilliant attackers. You need 7 with one that you're happy rotating in every now and again. So that would be my only concern is I don't know who you bench there. You probably do bench João Pedro or someone like that, which just means to me that you've built too strong of an 8. Blizzard202 says A or B. A is Gyökeres, Bruno, Xavi, Reinders. And B is Isak, Foden and Jai Caicedo. I still prefer A. Just about. Actually, I prefer A, but with Njai instead of Xavi. But then I'm just building my team, aren't I? But yeah, I prefer A with Njai instead of Xavi Simons. Thanks, Ross. Sorry for my autocorrect. Good luck. No need to apologise, my friend. Good luck to you as well. Wood playing. Should I captain him for differentiation? I do think Chris Wood will start, but I'm not confident enough to say that you should captain him. So I'm fine with you captaining Wood, but I wouldn't... Sorry, I'm fine with you starting Wood, but I wouldn't captain him. Mark says, who to bench? One of Ndoye, Gyökeres, Pedro, Njai, Reinders, Semenyo, Foden. Wish you a fruitful game week. Thank you so much. It honestly probably is Ndoye out of those options or Gyökeres. One of the first two. I would bench Ndoye, but if you've got a good feeling and he's also a differential, maybe bench Gyökeres. Rodon or Alderete on wildcard, no bench boost. I think either are fine. Maybe if you're not bench boosting, Alderete is not a bad option. He's really decent for Defcon, should be pretty nailed on. If you're playing them in game week 8, I quite like Rodon though for a game week 8 start against Burnley. So maybe if you're just playing them in 8 and Rodon, but I do like Alderete. Salem Al-Kieli says, I've got Xavi over Njai. Would you consider him if he starts? I do like Xavi Simons. I have the money to pick him over Njai, I think, or almost. But I just really like Njai. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Look at Lazy FPL. Erling Haaland starts. Wow, that's an early leak. There you go. Haaland starts. Not always correct, Lazy FPL, but they usually are. Is Saka on the bench? I don't know. I don't mind including Saka, but you're not including Saka for this week on a wildcard, really, are you? You're including him for game week 7 and beyond. Who to choose between Raya, Gabriel, Senesi... What's this? Raya, Gabriel, Senesi, Gvardiol, Anderson, Rodon. Or Donnarumma, Gabriel, Senesi, Tarkowski, Anderson, Richards. So both have Gvardiol. No, they don't. Okay, Donnarumma, Gabriel, Senesi, Tarkowski, Anderson, Richards. Raya, Gabriel, Senesi, Gvardiol. I probably prefer the Donnarumma option, actually. Yeah, I probably slightly prefer the Donnarumma option. Limit says some super chats got skipped. Sorry about that. I do my best. Rodon versus Goodmanson. Why? Goodmanson's just not got as good Defcon potential. That's it. Rodon just has much better Defcon potential. Can I get Richards for Tark to keep funds for Isak, Salah, Palmer, Saka? Yes. Richards instead of Tarkowski is not a huge downgrade, by the way. It probably is somewhere where I should free up funds, but I've got a good feeling about Tarkowski. Milenkovic and Porro both doubts. Yes, they are both, but I think both will start if I had to guess. Ivan says, Ross, start one from Garner, Gyökeres, or Gabriel. Start one, Gyökeres, probably. Maybe Gabriel. Tough. Right, just over 10 minutes until the deadline. If you're not yet subscribed, we're less than 100 subscribers away from 170,000. If you're not yet subscribed, please do so. We're only 84 subscribers away. 84 of you definitely aren't subscribed. Don't lie to me. You know if it's you as well. Just scroll down and click that button. If you're just joining the stream, I am on Wildcard. This is my team. The other bit of news is that Graham Potter has been sacked and that Erling Haaland, according to Lazy FPL, does start. So Haaland starts, Potter sacked, I'm on Wildcard and this is my team. Who is the best Palmer replacement? Probably Bruno Fernandes for the next two, or Phil Foden, or Brian Mbeumo. Foden, Fernandes, and Mbeumo. You could even, of course, go Saka. Ross, do you not think you're crazy having no Liverpool when they're the best team in the league and will probably win it? Oh, I will absolutely have Liverpool very soon. I'll be bringing in a Liverpool asset at some point. I just think for the next 4 to 5, I can potentially go against. The only fixture I'm worried about is Game Week 8 against Man United. That's a great fixture for them. But other than that, the thing is, people say no Liverpool. Like, where's the Liverpool? It's like, who do you want in there? Because I want Salah, but he's so expensive. I don't think Gakpo, Ekitike, or Isak are great picks right now. And with Van Dijk, I think I just prefer Gabriel. So yes, there is a massive absence of Liverpool in this team. But it's like, where does the Liverpool player go? I guess. How long is Palmer out for? Until at least Game Week 8. That was until at least the international break, which takes place between 7 and 8. What does Potter sacking impact us? It just means that Everton this week probably won't have such a great fixture. And it also means that Arsenal next week won't have as much joy, you wouldn't imagine. Reinders, Kudus, Bruno, Semenyo, and Jai, bench 1. That's a terrible benching headache. I would probably bench Kudus. Who would you bench, Mateta or Grealish? I'd bench Mateta. Should I transfer from Gibbs White to Njai or do toss into Senesi and start Senesi ahead of Dorgu or Juve? I even have the money to go from Gibbs White to Mbeumo or Foden. I'd be very tempted by Mbeumo and Foden. Would I make the move though? I probably wouldn't. I'd keep Gibbs White, but I think Mbeumo, Foden and Njai are all fantastic. Samuel says start Petrovic or Sanchez. Probably Petrovic. Best game week to wildcard. I would wildcard Game Week 8 if you've not got a plan, or 13. 8 and 13 look like the best 2 weeks after this now. My captain at the moment is Tarkowski. How mad is that from 1 to 10? Mad. Pretty mad. Especially now that Graham Potter's been sacked. I don't want to put you off massively, but listen, if Tarkowski hauls, I'll be a very happy man. Pretty much the same wildcard as you, except Romero over Tarkowski. Okay? And Mukiele over Rodon with an eye for bench boost 8. Am I good to go? Absolutely good to go. Looks good. Gyökeres, Kudus, Bruno, or Richarlison, Saka, and Mbeumo. Gyökeres, Kudus, Bruno, or Richarlison, Saka, and Mbeumo. I just about prefer the Gyökeres, Kudus, Bruno combination. But I really like the Richarlison, Saka, and Mbeumo combo as well. We are 50 subscribers now away from 170,000. Again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, I know it's annoying me, keep asking, but all you have to do is scroll down and hit it. It's completely free. You might decide in a few weeks, I hate this Raptor guy. He's pissing me right off. I don't want to subscribe to him anymore. But you might also decide that you like the content. Who knows? Would you hold Everton assets on free hit now that Potter's sacked? Yeah, I still don't think they're a great team. And also, whoever takes over from Potter, they're not going to have long, are they? So yeah, they might even be managerless. I don't know if there is someone that's lined up directly, but yeah, I think fine. Sir, is Porro starting? No idea, but I would predict yes. Why not start Anderson over Gabriel? Because I think that Arsenal are a better defence. I think clean sheet potential probably higher. Would you do a -4 Gakpo to Foden? No. Start Wood or João Pedro? João Pedro. I just think the clean sheet chances are probably higher for Arsenal. We'll check in a second. Gabriel or Timber or Tarkowski on wildcard. Gabriel if you're only choosing one of them. But I think Gabriel and Tarkowski are both great. Timber's going to have high upside. It's just like, does he start every game? I don't know. Maybe he does. What were the clean sheet chances for Fulham and for Arsenal? Arsenal have a 35% chance. Fulham have a 26% chance. So yeah, Arsenal just have a greater chance for a clean sheet than Fulham. Obviously, this week, the only team with a massive chance is Man City and Spurs have the greatest chance for clean sheet this week, and I don't have any defenders from those two teams, so there we go. Gabriel or Tim? I did that one. Bench 2, Gabriel, Reinders, Bruno, Van der Ven, Senesi, Tarkovsky, Njai. Probably Van der Ven and Gabriel. Probably Van der Ven and Gabriel from those two. Is Gakpo starting? I've got no idea, but I would predict so. I would predict so. Can't afford Gabriel. Who to go for instead? Gvardiol or Tarkovsky, probably. Have we had any leaks? The only leak we've had is that Haaland starts. Haaland starts and Graham Potter has been sacked. That's not a leak, though. That's just what it is. Gvardiol and Njai or Van der Ven and Mbermo? Probably Gvardiol and Njai. Start Anderson or Rodgers? I'd start Anderson. You've got just under 5 minutes until the deadline. Just under 5 minutes until the deadline. Make sure you're getting your teams locked in. I like to just go onto the FPL site and I just refresh my team just to make sure that I've not done anything and forgot to actually change it. Is my bench order correct, do you think, chat? Folded and went for Van Dijk and Foden over Saka and Gvardiol. I respect it. I respect it. Do you think I should switch Stack and Anderson on my bench? Should I do a quick poll? Could do a quick poll. Let's do a quick poll. Who would you have first bench? Stack, Anderson. Who would you have first bench? I might go back to Stack. I had Stack all week, and then I just thought, I could just see Anderson doing really well in this game. I'm not sure. It's very close. You think Stack first sub? Yeah, maybe I'll go back then. My initial thought was Stack. Villa can't score for Toffee. I know, but just every week I'm like, but surely. Every week I'm like, but surely they score in this game. You know, but yeah, they've been so bad, haven't they? Oh, it's 50-50. The poll is 50-50. Whilst you're voting on the poll, please make sure to subscribe. We are 30 subscribers away now from 170,000. Start Caicedo or Xavi Simons? Definitely Xavi Simons. Oh my God, can you hear my belly rumbling? Watkins is on pens. I don't think he is anymore. Apparently Mark Guiu might be playing. Any truth in that? I would crack up if Mark Guiu starts. That would kill me off. 8 Anderson is a guaranteed 4 points. Stack isn't. I guess so, yeah. Not necessarily guaranteed, but maybe more likely. Njai, Grealish, or Xavi? Choose 2 of them. Njai and Xavi. Gvardiol, Xavi, Richarlison, or Chalobah, Foden, and Mateta? The former. Gvardiol, Xavi, and Richarlison. How much do you have in the bank? I've got 0.4 in the bank. I don't have great team value, sadly. Yeah, I don't know. It probably doesn't matter that much, does it? Hopefully I don't need my sub. My first sub. Fingers crossed. With the same template yours, I have 0.3 in the bank. Can I replace anyone with 0.3? I've got 0.4 and I'm not planning on doing anything with it. You could maybe do Tarkovsky to Gvardiol if you wanted to be a bit different. I think Tarkovsky versus Gvardiol is quite close, so if you wanted to use that money to do that, you could. I've thought about it myself. I just think in the long term I like Tark. What do you think about Richarlison this week? Love him. For the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think Richarlison's great. Beyond that, I think he'll be a bit of a no-go, just because of Solanke and Kylo Moani. So if you want a short-term punt, I think Richarlison's one of the best. Less than a minute till the deadline. Get your teams locked in. Stop asking for my advice. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Guys, we're 20 subscribers off. We're not going to manage it, are we? 20 people need to subscribe in the next 40 seconds. I will carry on streaming after the deadline, by the way, so don't leave. Make sure to stick around. I carry on streaming, wait for the lineup, stuff like that. Fight me, if you want. The amount of shot Stack gets, I would bench him first. Do you mean put him as the first bench? Maybe. I'm hoping I don't need my first bench, but yeah, I'm probably going to regret it, aren't I? It's too late now. I believe in Anderson. I also think Anderson's fantastic. Bench Gyökeres. Yeah, I wouldn't mind benching Gyökeres with that team more, Sam. I wouldn't mind benching Gyökeres with that team. We're 2 subscribers away. Make sure to subscribe. 2 people need to subscribe, and we hit it. Hearing Mbermo is back to right wing back due to injuries. Oh no, that would be a shame. Is it crazy to bench Gyökeres? No, but the deadline's gone, so it's too late anyway. Let me tweet my team, and then we'll talk about club. Do stick around, like I said. If you're not sticking around, please do subscribe on the way out. But yeah, make sure to stick around because I'm going to carry on streaming for a bit. Hey! People subscribe. Thank you for 170,000, chat. I appreciate it. And sorry for asking. What storm are you bringing up today, or is your chef cooking for you? I don't know what food I'm having, actually, but I'm starving. So I need to sort that out. Oh, Thor, if you're still in the live stream, that looks stunning. Wow. All right, let me tweet my team. Right, I think that's it. My belly is so loud. I do apologize. All right, boom, boom. Right. Then I need to tweet on or post on Blue Sky. Congrats on 170k. Thank you, you absolute legend. Peshwari Naan. I'd slap a Peshwari Naan. There's never a bad time to have a Peshwari Naan. Let's be real. Right. I have a bad feeling I'm going to regret not putting Stack as my first sub. I've got a bad feeling someone's going to miss out. Stack's going to haul, Anderson's going to blank. Right, let me post it there as well. Is there a site that gives you more info about club? I am the site. I am the info. What info do you want? Tell me the info you want and I will give you that info. But yeah, basically, now's probably a good time to download it, guys. I'll let's do a little meet now. So if you've probably heard me bloody talking about club all the time. Basically, it's free to play fantasy football, but a bit more interesting than that because you can upgrade your stadium facilities and other things. There's FPL Harry in there. You've got FPL Pickle. You've got me. But you basically upgrade your stadium facilities, upgrade your club, and then each week you compete in head-to-head fantasy football. So this is my team at the moment. And players have contracts, so you need to renew the contracts. You've got a salary cap that you need to stay within. So it's much more than just fantasy football, but that's the kind of premise of it. But it's completely free to play. And because it's weekly head-to-head, it doesn't matter if you've not played yet. Like, it's not like you've missed a really, really massive part of the season. As a result, you can't play. Like, this week I'm going against this guy. Surely my team beats that guy. And then you're just entered into, like, little mini-leagues all the time. And even in the leagues, like my league, which you can join, there's a link down below to join my league, you order it by the game week. So no one really cares what your season score is. It's just like getting the best score each game week. So it's a little bit more casual, I think, basically. Twitter replies, Raptor. What happened on my Twitter replies? Anyway, so what we're going to do, we do this every single time I collect my cash, is meet with Manny. So this is how you get players in club. I basically want you to guess who I'm going to get. This can be any player in the Prem. Any Premier League player, I'll give you 30 seconds starting from now to guess which Premier League player my agent's going to get me. It can be really bad or it can be really fantastic. It could be Salah or Haaland, or it could be all the way down to like an absolute no-go non-option that doesn't start. Mr. Shazam with the super chat. Well, shopping was boring. Glad I made it for the main part of the stream. You legend. I was going to say I didn't think you were going to be here. How did the boring part go beforehand? Congrats on 170k, mate. Thank you so much, my friend. No, it went well, the stream. I enjoyed today's stream a lot. I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't have water at any point. I don't know if anyone noticed. I'm not drunk at all. That was silly of me. Right, I'm going to do it. How much does it cost to get a decent club team? I was a bit put off by the fact I have to pay real money. You don't have to pay real money. You genuinely don't. I don't think Pickle's ever spent a single pound. I don't spend money on club. The only time I've spent money is for content. Like sometimes if I have to open another or meet with Manny again, I don't want to sit there for ads, so I pay for gems. But most people that I know that have played club haven't spent any money. Anyway, right. Tap to reveal. It's free to play, basically. Tap to reveal. Come on. Base. Core. Rare. Elite forward. Don't be Watkins. Spurs. Is that Richarlison? Kudus. We finally got a good player in club. Finally. Did anyone say... Someone would have said Kudus. Someone said Kudus. Zafa said Kudus. Did anyone else say Kudus? Chris Robbie said Kudus. We got people that actually predicted it for once because it was a good player. Yeah, we got a few Kudus predictions. Fair play. Fair play. Well, obviously, I want Kudus for this week. Oh, that's a good one. That's a very good one. Sign. My concern now is I'm out my salary cap. So I've got to get rid of someone. So how much do I need to free up? I need to free up 1.8 million. Oh my God, I'm going to have to bench Watkins. Do I just release Watkins then? How much is Mateta? Mateta's 2 mil. So I need to release Watkins or Mateta. Or Livramento I could release and keep my forwards. But I don't have many defenders then. Shall I release Watkins, do we think? He's been rubbish, hasn't he? Yeah, bye-bye Watkins. Bye-bye Watkins. I agree. Bye-bye Watkins. Okay, we're back in our salary cap. Because if you're not within your salary cap, essentially, your best players refuse to play for you. So I wouldn't have been able to have Bruno Fernandes if I was out my salary cap. Is anyone good in the loans? Do I get Van der Ven instead of Munoz? Or Reece James? I might get Van der Ven instead of Munoz. I'm going to do that, you know. I don't usually loan too many players, but I think that's better this week. Like that, yeah. Okay, we're sorted. If you want to check out Club, there's a link down below. Make sure you join my league as well. I'm doing giveaways throughout the season. All you have to do is be in my league, and you might be in for a giveaway. We gave away a Premier League jersey recently, so the code is 3462SK7. It's linked down below. But yeah, join Club. It's completely free. You might decide you don't like it, which is fair, but most people that do play have ended up enjoying it. So yeah, there is a link down below to download it, basically. All right. Nuno has agreed to join West Ham. Say again? Oh, thanks. Yeah. Okay, Nuno to West Ham. Interesting. I don't mind that appointment. He'll make them defensively pretty solid. We know that. Been subscribed for the 3rd season now. Best FPL creator out there. Thank you very much, mate. Any subscription reward for the correct prediction? No, but you did very well. What is your target rank at the end of the season? Always top 50k. That's always my rank. I target anyway. I don't really care too much about I don't really care too much about top 10k. Well, I do care. I'd like it, but like that's not my target. The loan should be limited to maybe 2 or 3. 3 or 4 is too many. Yeah, but only if you have a lot of coins, because you need to use the coins to renew contracts. So if you keep loaning 4 players a week, eventually you'll run out of coins. You and FPL Sonaldo have the exact same team. It's not only me and FPL Sonaldo, probably about 5 to 10,000 other people. I would not be surprised if so many people have the exact same team. What's your rank right now? 5.8 milli. It's fantastic, I know. Cool, I'm very hungry. Very hungry. Sending you love from the land down under. Big love. Thank you very much. I told my mate, Max Estev, studs up on that Norwegian fella first minute. No, preferably not. When do you plan to use the triple captain, Ross? Probably on Salah or Haaland against a promoted team later in the season. Why Tarkowski to start than Romero? I like Romero a lot, by the way. I just think Tarkowski's slightly better. Ross, are you playing FPL Challenge? Not really, no. And when I say not really, I've only played it like twice last year. It's just not. It doesn't get me excited. You know. Hello from the hospital. I hope you're okay. Everyone buy Kilman. Nuno is at the wheel. Juve's going to become the best player in the game. Yeah, Defcon monsters. We're going to get some cheap West Ham defenders that are Defcon monsters. Yeah, absolutely. Is there an outside chance Palace get a double before it resets? Yeah, there is, but they'd have to beat Liverpool in the Cup. Remotia says, Ross, do you know how to start a party in space? You have to plan it. It's a terrible dad joke. That's like a Christmas cracker joke. Wade says, Ross, club questions. Gravenberch or Dewsbury Hall? Gyökeres or Evan Nilsson? Club. Probably Gravenberch and probably Gyökeres. Gravenberch and Gyökeres probably in club. Just downloaded club. How do I start the best? Just get your team sorted for the upcoming deadline, what you've got. Meet with Manny. You'll get like one or two. You should start with a few gems, I think. I can't remember because I started so long ago. But meet with Manny as many times as you can. Get the best players you can. This week, you might not do that well because you've not got like the best players. But then just slowly build up your squad over time. And obviously make sure you're upgrading your facilities as well. Tim says, my free hit team ended up being Pickford, Tarkowski, like it, Chalobah, Romero, Bruno, Foden, Semenyo, Reinders, Haaland, Pedro, Richarlison. What are your thoughts, Ek? Love it. Yeah, really strong. Romero, Richarlison, obviously this week, really nice. Great midfield. Love the Foden pick. Strong defense. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Bowen at times plays incredible football. He's so underrated. Yeah, Bowen with Nuno might be a decent shout. It might be the new Chris Wood. What is the benefit of having better facilities? It's just like each one will tell you. So I'll show you. So if you upgrade your board, you increase the salary cap. If you upgrade Pickle, I'm not upgrading Pickle. Pickle is my upgrade. But if you upgrade Pickle, she's the head of sales and ticketing. So you increase the amount of club cash that you generate at what speed. If you upgrade Agent Manny, you get better players. If you upgrade this, you get more squad slots and you get more loan slots. If you upgrade me, I'm basically the worst, but I'm the director of football, so that increases the amount of transfer coins you get. And then, once you upgrade your stadium, you then move on to the next level and you can go through those upgrades again. So, yeah. And you can watch ads if you want to. I honestly don't watch many ads. I know a lot of other people do. You can watch ads as well to speed it up if you don't want to wait. Do you own club? I don't own club, but I am a shareholder within Formation Games. A small shareholder, I should add, by the way. But yeah, no, I'm heavily involved in club, but I don't own club. Good to see you, Mr. FPL Chai. I'm your upgrade, eh? Yeah, you are. How do you upgrade Pickle? No, I said that you can upgrade Pickle, but I was like, of course you can't upgrade Pickle. Pff. How many levels are there in club? I think there are 20 at the moment. Have you ever played the browser game Hat Trick? No, Thor, I've not. Andy just said he makes £50,000 a stream. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. You're mental if you think it's even 1/10 of that. No, Andy doesn't make 50k a stream. That's outrageous. No, he didn't. Well, he's joking if he said that. He's obviously joking. There's no FPL YouTuber making £50,000 in a live stream. That's funny, though. Made me laugh. Nobody gets Andy's sarcasm. Andy's one of the more sarcastic people. Yeah, he did say it, but then it would have been a joke, obviously. I can promise you I've never made £40,000 in a live stream. No, not maybe before. YouTube takes 30%, so you'd still have to make a fair amount. Oh, I've got such bad DOMs in my back. Pickle and I did a crazy pool day and it is killing my back. Oh. Right, we get the lineups in a minute, don't we? Have a look. There were suggestions that Mbermo's playing right back, which, given that Ahmad's not available because a member of his family passed away, I suppose there is a small chance. I'd hate to see that, though. I think Ross would be living in the Maldives or something if he was making 50k a stream. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be living in Birmingham. Sorry, Pickle. Sesko benched and Burmo is right back. We get the lineup now. Sesko is not benched and Burmo is not right back. It's Cunha starting. Yeah, Cunha starting. So it will be... No. Yeah, Dallo and Dorgu are there. So it will be Delict, Maguire and Shaw as the centre-backs. Dallo and Dorgu as the right and left wing-back. Bruno Fernandes and Ugarte as the starting midfielders. And then a front three of Mbermo, Cunha and Sesko. My mum said he would be paying my mortgage off. Yeah, if I earned £50,000 in a live stream, my mum's mortgage would be paid off by now, for sure. If anyone wants to super chat 50,000, no, don't. I'm joking. I'm in Birmingham as well. I was thinking, there's loads of people based in the Midlands. I might do a Birmingham-based meetup at some point, if anyone would be up for that. Just rent out or like hire out a pub and just do like a big meetup. Kelleher, Coyote, Vandenberg. These team graphics just get worse and worse over time. Why am I having to squint for that? Okay. Dango Watara starts. Whereabouts in Birmingham, bro? Literally like city centre. Right in the city centre. At least it's in formation. This is true. It's just very small. Maybe because I'm blind and old. I'm like, what am I looking at? Do you have social anxiety? No. It's one of the only anxieties I don't have, actually. Oh, I'm reading a book at the moment called Pickle. Could you get my book? Please. Thanks. I'll show you the book I'm reading at the moment. Anyway, I don't have social anxiety, but I have every other kind. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's not funny. I don't have... the cover's there as well, because I took the cover off. If you could, please, that'd be great. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. That's okay. Oh, what have I just... I dropped the book. Oh, God. What have I hit there? I dropped my book. Oh, no. My bookmark fell out. Oh, chat. I took the book cover off to read it because it was easier last night. But it is called... I've really enjoyed it so far. I'm only like a chapter and a bit in. What was your pull day? And I'll do it today. It was lat pull down. It was basically a horizontal row. It's a bit of a weird machine, but it's a horizontal row. It was a T-bar row. It was a rear delt fly, and then 2 bicep exercises. This is the book I'm reading. I can't fully recommend it yet because I'm only a chapter in, but so far it's been really interesting. The general premise of this book is that perhaps we are addicted to anxiety and perhaps we're reliant on anxiety because it provides a feeling of like familiarity. And actually, we need to sort of break the habit of sort of like accepting our anxiety. I think we are going to do push day if we gym. If we gym, yeah, we are probably. But anyway, if you are very anxious, so far, I'll update you, but I recommend this book thus far. It's been pretty good. It was quite expensive, though. It was £18.99, which is quite a lot. Yeah, I would recommend it if you are anxious. Or at least worth having a bit of a read, isn't it? You know? My mum got me a bookmark for Christmas last year, or for my birthday. I think it was for Christmas. It just fell out though, and I can't remember where it was in. I think it was there. Let's put it roughly there. Imagine reading that on a train. I don't mind admitting I'm anxious. Anxiety is an idiot's way of acknowledging being weird. Oh, wait. Oh, you're getting blocked from the channel. Oh, wait. I can't click on your name quick enough. Oh. Block. This is why people aren't willing to admit that they're anxious as well, because people say it's you being weird. There was no anxiety or mental health issues 50 years ago. That's saying something. It's the pharma companies making billions. I won't block you because you're a member, Sanwol, but you're basically saying that anxiety isn't real, which is just ridiculous behavior. I do think there are ways to combat anxiety, but I think belittling people's anxiety is ridiculous. I think the reason that people felt like... I don't think the guy that you blocked meant it in a bad way. He said being anxious is an idiot's way of admitting that they're weird. How else could you... I don't understand how else I could have taken that. Have I taken that the wrong way? Anyway, I think the reason that 50 years ago it feels like people didn't have anxiety is people didn't know what anxiety was and they weren't able to like identify it or reflect. Anyway, personally, as someone that suffers from terrible anxiety, I can tell you it is very real. But anyway, I think more people would benefit from talking about it. You know? I think if you're anxious, talk to people around you. When I first met FPL Pickle, I was very like, I used to deny my anxiety a lot and say like, I'm not anxious. But I think the more that you are willing to accept it and identify, I think it's a lot easier to sort of deal with. Anyway, speaking of, I'm anxious that I'm not eating. I'm so hungry. My belly is in bits. So what I'm going to do is go eat some food. But I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Hopefully this wildcard doesn't do too badly. I'll, of course, be back again tomorrow with a transfer plans video. And then Monday with the FPL roundup as well. So best of luck for this weekend. If you do need someone to talk to, chuck me an email. You know, we'll have a little bit of a chat. I will do one more super chat because someone just did. Hi, Ross, can you rate my wildcard? I would give you a wildcard, Ivan. Do you know what? I'm feeling kind. 10. It's probably more like a 9.8, but what more can you do? What more can you do? Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. I love you very much, and I will catch you soon. Bye.